quick. And let's hop right to it. See my screen okay? It says 21 days of real estate riches. Yes? Yes? Okay, great. Let me move that over here. Yeah, folks in there. So, real quick recap. Again, for those of you who did not get your workbook at this point, I don't know what to tell you other than go ahead and need help, ask Lisa, fill out a ticket, and she will get back to you as quickly as possible and either get it to you, email it to you in a PDF format, or print one out and have it sent to you, okay? The Facebook group will stay up for probably about another week or two, and then we're gonna move everything over into REIU. So those of you who are still a little behind, please get in there and watch those lessons. And again, tomorrow I will be here. Tomorrow, there is no homework assignment for tomorrow. I'll give you a brief homework assignment today at the end, but tomorrow is really kind of open office hours, chance for you guys to come in and ask me anything you want based on what you have experienced over at that point, past 20 days. So, and then again, those folks who did send in buyer broker agreements, those folks who do want to work with real investors or want real investors to work with you more accurately, we'll be getting together next Wednesday at 5. Just put it on your calendar and I'll get you the link to that conversation, okay? Those of you who've been sending in your ratings, thank you so very, very much. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate the 5s and I appreciate the 4s. And I appreciate some of the feedback that you guys gave who gave 4s, and I understand completely, and I thank you for that. But you can rate it any way you want. It is Trustpilot is a trusted source, and that is why we use them. They verify and validate that your rating is for real, and it keeps us from having our hands on anything that you say. We do not get to edit it. We don't get to slice it and dice it. We're not like the out-of-town gurus or the late-night gurus or the mini local gurus, who I call the mini-roos. These are legit ratings and honest feedback, and that's what I was looking for. And so we had a deal, which was at the beginning. I said, I'm giving you a $3,000 course for $297 and doing it live in exchange for having you guys give me a rating at the end. And those of you who've honored your part of the bargain, I greatly, 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 greatly appreciate it. So at this point, again, our homework for yesterday was turning in your metrics and your cheat sheets and your ahas, and thank you for all of you guys who did submit your homework yesterday. As you are seeing, I continue to respond. I continue to discuss issues in the Facebook group. The Facebook group will remain up for about another 2 weeks. So those of you who want to continue to catch up on your lessons and get stuff in, I will continue to support the Facebook group and respond in the Facebook group for at least the next 2 weeks. I cannot promise you what happens after 2 weeks, because we are going to move everything over into the new REIU. Many of you guys know we use a CRM, or customer relationship management program, called Infusionsoft. We've been using it for years. I'm not sure I could change if I wanted to. And they have an add-on product called Customer Hub that was created by one of the brothers or cousins or something of one of the founders of Infusionsoft. And so they built it up, and then Infusionsoft bought them. And then about 2-3 years ago, the creator of Infusionsoft, Kyle Levitt, and his brother bought the company back. And they reached out to a small group of us who were longtime users of Customer Hub, which is really sort of a membership site slash, I guess, online delivery tool, management tool, so that people can sort of manage their own accounts, and that's really kind of important for our members if they have, credit cards they want to change and they don't want to call somebody with a credit card number. So they could log in through Customer Hub to be able to update all their membership records. And it also allowed us to deliver live training and also recordings of our trainings. So anyway, the folks at Customer Hub bought the company back. We've been working with them for a little over a year now in beta for their new rollout, and they just did the first series of rollouts last week. I was on the webinar with those guys when they rolled it out, and we're scheduled to roll out in about a week or so. So we're moving everything that we do with regards to REIU over into the new Customer Hub 2.0. And I think you guys are really, really, really going to like it. And the very first thing we're going to put in there is, in fact, the 21 Days Real Estate Riches. It is a platform agnostic tool. It'll work on desktop computers. It'll work on iPads. It'll work on Droids. It'll work on iPhones. There is no legacy software involved in it. So there's no Joomla. There's no, what's the thing everybody used to use? Flash. All that stuff is gone. Java, all that stuff is gone. It's all state of the art in terms of the technology platform and what it can do. And I think you guys are really, really going to love having us port all of our prior classes, master classes, mini classes over onto the new REIU, which launches in a couple of weeks. And again, the first one that's going to happen is going to be this 21-day course that you guys have been involved with. So given the fact that that's going to happen, we will shut down the Facebook group and put all of the recordings, all the training, all the material. It will also allow anybody else who comes behind you to do at their own pace. They won't be able to get ahead. They'll be able to print out their own certificates, and everybody who's participated in this class who has handed in all their homework will wind up getting a certificate, and I'll talk about that later. Helps you in your credibility kit, also helps you to sort of understand where you are in the process. But the main thing is I've really, really, really enjoyed doing this live. As much as I sort of griped and complained and moaned and groaned, I have enjoyed doing this live, and I hope you guys have also enjoyed the live. I apologize to those of you who are like real sticklers for start-stop times. I did go over on a couple days, but understand I went over in love because I want to make sure that you guys got all the lesson, and it would have been kind of awkward to just sort of cut it off where I cut it off, and then you guys be like, what is like a soap opera? We got to come back tomorrow, you know? And so I don't like doing that. I don't like that gimmick. I don't like that trick. So yes, on a couple of times I did go way longer than I should have. But again, I appreciate you guys. And those of you who did sort of call me out on it, I understand where you're coming from totally. And I get it. And I respect that. So anyway, there will be another homework assignment for today. There will be no homework assignment for tomorrow. Tomorrow is open office hours. I have no set agenda. I'm just there tomorrow to answer your questions, to make sure that you got the full benefit and what you expected, and make sure that you got everything you came for when you signed up for this program. So that's what tomorrow's all about. Just sort of there for those who want to come in and just chat with me, open office hours, and have me explain some things. I don't anticipate adding anything new to the conversation, but if there's anything that just wasn't quite clear, that's what we will be doing tomorrow. All right. So in terms of, oh yes, the apprentice program, Lisa told me that a bunch of folks did reach out to her, and she'll be reaching back to those of you who send her stuff through Need Help, Ask Lisa. She was live with us for about an hour, or a little bit less than an hour, about 45 minutes yesterday, and did answer some questions, got a couple people straightened out, helped a couple people sign up. If you are still interested, unfortunately, the early bird discount is gone, but we still have, Lisa reminded me, we still offer some scholarships for first responders and healthcare workers and students. So if you fall in that category, best thing to do, Lisa says, is just go ahead, sign up on the website, select the payment plan, make the first payment. She will circle back to you before the class actually starts and work out the scholarship issue, the payment issue. And if for whatever reason you're not happy with it, then she'll also issue a full refund on that first payment if you decide later on that you want to opt out and not actually do it. So in any event, it's lifechangingeducation.com. There's a video there. It's self-explanatory. There's 2 payment options there. Pay in full, that saves you a little bit of money. And we're giving everybody here the membership discount, even though some of you are not members of Real Investors, and I'll talk a little bit about what that's all about a little bit later. But we are offering the membership discount, and there's also a payment plan option, okay? But again, all that stuff, you guys are like hitting me with, what about me? What about me? Guys, Need Help, Ask Lisa. Sherman doesn't handle money. Need Help, Ask Lisa. So please reach out to Lisa and she'll take care of you. I promise that she will take care of you. So here's where we are. The last week, the last 2 modules, we got a little bit stuff left over from what we talked about yesterday, just a little. And then we're really going to tear into what I call the light of Oprah. What I'm going to share with you is something that I learned. As you guys know, I have studied wealthy people my entire adult life. I went to the Wharton School of Business, met a young man named Terrence Brown. We became instant best friends, and Terrence was the guy that convinced me to go with him to the Lippincott Library to study, really how people get rich in America. And that's what we did for 2 years. And we uncovered the code, we cracked the code and discovered the secret. And ever since then, I have made a habit of getting my hands on certain material every month and reading it cover to cover in search of continuously the topic of how do people continue to get rich in America. And so one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite subjects is Oprah. And there's a little something I discovered by studying her. And I'm going to share that with you guys that instantly doubled my income without doubling my workload. And I want you guys to understand this little technique and apply it. And because I think you'll be amazed that, gee, it's not so much that the rich are any smarter than us, but they do have a couple of tricks up their sleeve, and we could apply some of them. I can't guarantee you'll turn into a billionaire, but I can guarantee you that it'll put $200,000 in your bank account in the next couple of years if you actually apply it. If you actually apply it. If you actually apply it. Okay. So somebody says I'm lagging a little bit. Thank you. Yep, I'm on the wrong network. Thank you for catching that. So let me adjust. I may freeze for a second, but I got to get on the right network and make sure we get a record. Okay, I'm back. Can you guys see me okay? Give me a thumbs up. It just took a split second, but thank you. And thank you for bringing that to my attention, Dee. Appreciate that. All right, so that's where we are. We have these 6 bubbles, and yes, we're going to cover all of them today. We're not going to leave anything left unturned. Everything will get covered. So we're right here. This is kind of where we were yesterday, what to do once you go in motion. And I hope you guys enjoyed that video of Dave's Look Over My Shoulder program, which kind of started off as Dave's Look Over My Shoulder, became Sherman's Look Over My Shoulder. But hope you guys enjoyed that video from yesterday. If you missed it, please go back and watch day 19 again. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. And we're going to talk about reverse wholesaling secrets, 10x wholesaling secrets, Look Over My Shoulder, the 3-minute website. So yes, I promise you guys, I show you how to develop a website 3 minutes or less. And most importantly, what to do next, how to build on what you guys have been learning for the past 19 and now 20 days. Real quick recap. Again, never forget, Henry Ford changed the world through automation, and he never purchased a single piece of software. The 3 rules of automation, go ahead and type them in the chat box. You might as well go ahead and get this quiz over with. This is your last quiz ever for this class with me. What's the first rule of automation? What's the first rule of automation? Please type it in the chat box. Please type it in the chat box. What's the first rule of automation? What's the first rule? Nope, that's the second rule. That's the second rule. Exactly. Never automate a process that doesn't work. Said another way, never automate a process unless you know it works. Never automate a process. In other words, everything you do by hand. When Henry Ford built the first automobile, he didn't use robots. Henry Ford built the first automobile in his house. He literally built it in his house, and he had to smash a wall down to get it out of the house. But he wanted to see, what does it take to actually build a car? He had no automobile experience whatsoever. He had no automobile experience whatsoever, but he somehow decided, I want to get rich in automobiles because everybody's talking about automobiles. It's going to be the new thing. So let me first build my first automobile in my house. You guys know that Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak built the first Apple in their garage from parts that they stole from Hewlett Packard. Both of them, Steve Wozniak was an engineer at Hewlett Packard, and Steve Jobs was an intern. And they went around and said, hey, anybody using these parts? I said steal, that's probably a little loose. But basically, they borrowed parts from Hewlett Packard, and then they would take them back to the house. And because Steve Jobs' father really wasn't a big believer in him, he's like, take it out in the garage. So they had all of these parts from HP in the garage that they tinkered around with, and that's how they created the first Apple computer. Multi-billion-dollar company. First company in American history to reach $1 trillion worth. $1 trillion worth. Apple started in a garage. And that story is repeated over and over and over again. And when these guys start these companies, they're not starting them with an automation line, with an assembly line. They're building one, seeing if it works, and then go, okay, how do we perfect it? Okay, now we got it down. Now let's automate this sucker. Never automate anything unless you know that it works. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. Give me a thumbs up, give me a yes, give me yippee-ki-yay. All right, rule number 2. What's rule number 2? Now we can go back to, yes, automation is not software. Automation is not software. Automation fundamentally is simply this, and think about Henry Ford. It's getting somebody or somebodies to do 90% of the work so you can keep 90% of the profit. That's it. Now, if you wind up using some software, great. If you wind up using some tools that let you hire people half a world away, great. But don't make the mistake, the rookie mistake, the newbie mistake that so many investors make and they get totally ripped off, of going straight out on the internet to see what piece of software you can buy to automate your business. Because chances are, if you run out and buy that piece of software and you don't know how to use it, or don't even know why you want it, or don't even know what it's going to do, you're going to wind up wasting $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on software only to realize, oh yeah, that really doesn't help me at all. So automation is not software. Automation is people. Automation is people. Now, people can use software, so I'm not saying that software can't be involved, but don't just assume that automating your business means buying a piece of software, because it doesn't. And then lastly, to make sure that we're getting what we're paying for, we want to test, we want to measure, we want to test everything. We want to have metrics for everything. We want to break it down to its most basic step. As I gave the example a couple of days ago, if you are putting offers out in the street and you are getting a 4% response rate, you have done well. How do you know you got a 4% response rate? How would you ever know that you had a 4% response rate? Somebody put that in the chat box. How do you know? How do you know if you got a 4% response rate? You measure, exactly. You pay attention to what's going on. If I put 25 offers out, I should expect to get one invitation to a highest and best. In other words, one response. 1 out of 25 is the same as 4 out of 100, which is what kind of response rate? What, on a percentage basis, it's what percent? What is it? What is it? Put it in chat box. 4%, 4%, 4%. What did Sherman say we should expect to see happen when we start putting offers out in the street? What kind of response rate should we get? 4%. So you know if you're getting 4%, you're doing okay. If you're getting below 4%, there's a problem. And if you're getting above 4%, you're doing extremely well. By the way, don't try to double. If you want to get an 8% response rate, something may also be wrong, okay? But we want to measure and see how our performance is going. And once we turn it over to somebody else, we want to also measure. And we want to make sure that we break everything down. As I said before, a couple of days ago and yesterday, if I have an NFL sports team and I hire a head coach, and that head coach has a team on the field that consistently has a quarterback and a running back and a wide receiver that scores points every quarter of the game, but we continue to lose games because the kicker who comes up to kick the extra point consistently misses the extra point, and forget about field goals. And so every game we lose by 2 or 3 points because the kicker can't make the extra point. Do I have a quarterback problem? Do I have a wide receiver problem? Do I have a running back problem? No, I got a kicker problem. That's right. I need to fire the kicker. And it's only by testing and measuring and breaking down the component parts can we really pay attention to where things are going right and things are going wrong in our business. Does everybody understand that? If you understand that, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you understand that, please. All right. So in the abstract, that's a little hard to discuss, but as you start building your business, please make sure you're paying attention to your metrics. Please make sure that you have tools in place. When I say tools, I'm not talking about software. Like I don't need a tool to tell me if I'm getting a 4% response rate. If I put 100 offers out in the street and I get 1 out of 25, I know it's 4%. I don't need a spreadsheet or anything fancy. All I need to do is be tracking what I'm doing. So don't overly complicate this stuff. Most businesses, when they first get started, they're run out of notebooks and they're run on Google Docs or Excel spreadsheets. And then after things get going and after you ramp things up, then you start looking at fancier pieces of software and fancier kinds of analytics, okay? But to just get started, to just make some money, don't overly complicate this stuff. Does that make sense to everybody? Give me a thumbs up, okay? So we wanna make sure we have checklists, cheat sheets, and that we're tracking, and that when we track, we're actually looking at the metrics, okay? Any questions on any of that? Again, this is a quick recap, so nothing new. You've heard me say this before. You've heard me talk about this in the Facebook group, but it's important that we apply these things. Track, measure, track. That's exactly right. That's our mantra. All right, next. I promised you that we were going to talk about today these things. We're going to talk about how to pivot. In other words, once you get the offers out the door, and then you get the highest and best, and you go meet with your contractor, and you revise your numbers, right? And then you get a deal under contract, right? If you get 4 highest and best, you should expect to get 1 deal, okay? You should expect to get one. If you get 4 highest and best, you should expect to get 1 deal, 1 out of 4. Okay. In really hot markets, it may wind up having to be 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6. In really slow markets, it might be 1 out of 3. But you ought to expect to get 1 out of 4 highest and best. If that's not happening, again, you got to pay attention to what's happening. Okay, why am I not getting? And who's the first person we're going to go look to have a conversation with if we get 4 highest and best and don't get a deal? Who should we go to talk to? Put it in the chat box, please. I would say the negotiator. Now, if the negotiator is our agent, yeah. But if you're the person who's responsible for negotiation, you may want to go have a conversation in the mirror. And maybe you're giving poor instruction to your agent. Now, again, everybody's going to use their agent, investor agent, or diamond coach a slightly different kind of way. Okay, everybody's going to use them a slightly different kind of way. If you're relying heavily upon that person to negotiate the deal, so to get the fish in the boat, once you're thinking about it this way, I put lines in the water, and I got 1 out of 4 highest and best. And out of the 1 out of 4 highest and best, I got one on the line, and I need some help pulling the fish in the boat, and that's their job to help me pull the fish in the boat. Then yes, absolutely, you need to have a conversation with them. But on the other hand, if you walked in there and you hired your cousin, and you're like, cousin, all I need you to do is put the offers out in the street, and I'll handle it from there, and they're relying on you to guide them through the negotiation process, well, then it's on you, my brother. So, my sister. So you need to be sure, and again, that's why we have that team roster, who's responsible for what, and making sure that everybody on the team is doing their job. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. So once you get that in the flow and start getting deals and booking deals, the smartest thing you can do is turn that part of your business over to somebody else, automate it. The time to get yourself a virtual assistant, in my opinion, is the day you get that first deal done and you get that first $2,000 non-refundable check. Because with $2,000, you can reimburse yourself for your EMD, and you have $1,000 to pay somebody the $800 salary to hire them for the whole month. And your productivity will go up dramatically. Okay? So once you got that flowing, then we can pivot. And again, the word is pivot. Please write pivot in the chat box. Pivot. Pivot. We pivot into phase 2. We don't leap into phase 2. We don't abandon phase 1 and go into phase 2. We pivot. In other words, we're still doing phase 1 as we move into phase 2. We pivot into it. Okay. So that's when we start talking about phase 2, FSBOs, online auctions, rehabbing to resell, rehabbing to buy hold, and even small scale commercial. And I'm going to talk about all of those things right now. Any questions before I hit to the next slide? Any questions? Any questions, please put it in the chat box. Okay, you guys doing good tonight. All right, cool. We're moving right along. So here's what we're talking about, phase 2. And you saw some of this with Dave and Neil. You saw some of this in the video that we watched yesterday when we were riding shotgun, and we were talking, and Dave and I were talking in the car about how they wholesaled a bunch of deals their first year, and now they're pivoting into rehabbing. Now, I had to slap them on the wrist a little bit, because they are sort of walking away from phase 1. I had to remind them, guys, you don't walk away from phase 1, you just automate it. You don't walk away from phase 1. Phase 1 is what feeds the machine. Never, ever, ever shut down phase 1. Just automate it. Yeah, but we had to write up all, yeah, of course you had to write up the offers. Now you know how to teach somebody else how to do it, don't you? Yep. So I had to have a little off-camera coaching session and remind them, guys, you never abandon phase 1. You never abandon phase 1. You just get somebody else to do it. Like, well, Sherman, you don't do phase 1. Yeah, because I get you guys to do it and then bring me deals. I'm not giving up on phase 1. I'm just teaching you guys how to do it so you can bring me some deals and pay some cash. Anybody like the idea of me paying you some cash to do some phase 1 deals? All right. So I'm not abandoning phase 1. I'm just implementing it a slightly different way. For other folks who don't have a big microphone and a big stage like I got, go hire a virtual assistant and let them do it. That's what I did in my early, well, I didn't use a virtual assistant. Excuse me. Let me clean that up. I've never hired a virtual assistant, although I probably will after having talked to Amy the other day, but I did have a live assistant. I had a live person payroll come to my office, right? So I've always had an assistant. I have always had an assistant. I just was not using one because that was not really available when I got started 20 plus years ago. Virtual assistants and the ones coming from the Philippines really didn't come on the scene until about 15 years ago. So I was already in the groove doing what I was doing. Had that not been the case, then yes, I absolutely positively would have hired a virtual assistant to do all the work that I had my assistants do. Lisa was doing it for a while, and then I got her doing some other things and shifted her over into director of membership services when the training, teaching, coaching thing became a big part of what we do. But before I had Lisa, I had a young lady. Gosh, she was with me for 4 or 5 years maybe, and she was getting offers out the door. So there are lots of different ways you can get phase one implemented, and some of you may choose to go on to become mentors and coaches. I'm not saying everybody should. And if that's something that you want to do, we can have a private conversation about, is that the right next move for you, and how do you make that happen, and how do you kind of do what I do? You guys know there's probably 15, 20 people in the DC area who are mentors, coaches in the real estate space who got started at Real Investors. Some of whom I'll name and some of whom I won't name. But you know Joseph Azamoah, you know Andre Johnson, Runa Karoma, Abera Okoye. And if I think hard enough, with Jonathan Runlett. Of course, Jonathan's doing a slightly different way. He bought some extra franchises, but I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and say these were all VIP high-level coaching mentoring students of mine. We were at a property yesterday. Kevin Toston's car was in it. Kevin used to be a part. So there are lots of folks out there who got their start here at Real Investors who decided to go on and open up their own coaching mentoring shop. Tammy Phelps was a VIP member. So again, I keep going on and on and on and on, but that's not the point. The point is this: you never walk away from phase one. You never walk. You can use different strategies, different methodologies, but you never walk away. And the smartest way to put phase one on autopilot, quite frankly, is to do what Amy said to do and just get yourself a virtual assistant and let them handle that part of your business. All right. If you're generating $10,000 a month in profits, you ought to be willing to take 1,000 of that and hire somebody to make that part of your business just continue to hum along. That will allow you to go on to do bigger and better things with higher profit margins. But the key, obviously, is step one, get the first deal done. Step two, understand how you got the first deal done and understand it well enough to hire somebody else to do it. And then step three, hire somebody else to do 90% of the work. And you keep 90% of the profits. Anybody like that idea besides me? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you like that idea, okay? So that's what we were talking about, quite frankly, day 1 through 18. Now, day 19, day 20, we're now gonna pivot into doing some other things. So hopefully nobody has any questions in their mind about how do I get this thing up and running? How do I get my first deal? And then how do I bring on board a virtual assistant? If you're still at that point of that's not clear to you, then I would strongly recommend that you go back and watch days 1 through 18 again. 19 yesterday was sort of a bonus day because 19 I was showing you for almost an hour and a half the Ride Shotgun with David video, where David was talking about what he was doing post having successfully gone through the 21-day course and successfully spent a year as a wholesaler. But the bottom line is days 1 through 18 is all about how to get that up and running and then put that on autopilot, that phase one stuff, okay? So does anybody have any questions whatsoever on that? Because remember, on day 18, I also walked you through the 14-step process. Y'all remember that? Give me a thumbs up, okay? Give me a thumbs up, okay? All right, so if anybody got any questions on that, ask me now before I pivot, because once I pivot, I'm not talking about phase one anymore. Once I pivot, we're not talking phase one. Does everybody understand that? We're talking about how to move beyond phase one, how to do FSBO stuff, how to do online auction stuff, how to do reverse wholesaling, 10X wholesaling, commercial property wholesaling. That's what we're talking about today. We're pivoting away from phase one. So if you got any questions on phase one, speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least hold it till tomorrow when I have office hours. All right. So if you got any questions, please ask me now. Okay. And you guys remember, I did a 14-step process day before yesterday. So again, if it's still not perfectly clear, please go back and watch day 18, that 14-step process for getting phase one up and running and putting it on autopilot. All right, going once, going twice. All right, here we go. See, when I get ready to close this thing out, now, wait. When you make your first offer, what % of the listing price do you use? I don't use % of listing price. I use the Mayo Formula. Let's go back and look at the Mayo Formula one more time. All right, here is Where are you? Where's you? Where's you? I know you're there. You were there with me yesterday. Where are you? Where is you? I guess I gotta go back to. Okay, here we go. There's the Mayo Formula. Does everybody see that on your screen right now? The Mayo Formula. Give me a thumbs up if you see the Mayo Formula. Okay, with the big red circle in. Okay, that's the Mayo Formula. That's what I use. That's what I use for submitting my offers, making my offers sight unseen. I use the Mayo Formula. I don't use percentage of listing. Percentage of listing price does not work except for a slow market. In a slow market, if you want to just sort of like hack the system even more, you can use Howard Johnson used percentage of list. Howard Johnson, when he first got started, he was putting offers out at, I believe, 50% of what they were asking, pure and simple. But Howard Johnson got started in 2011. Anybody want to tell me what the real estate market was like in 2011? Anybody remember what happened in 2009, 2010? Right? We had a whole financial meltdown in 2009. Nobody was making any loans on properties at all 2010, and we were still in a recession in 2011. Yeah, just beginning to recover. So that little technique that Howard talks about, it worked great in that market. Is that the market we're in now? Use the Mayo Formula. Please use the Mayo Formula. It works. And more importantly, quite frankly, to be totally honest with you, more important than the price. What's more important than the price? Out of everything you guys have learned from me over the past 20 days, what is more important than the price? Hint, hint. FF. You want an FF contract, written contract that you put in front of the seller. Anybody want to venture forth a guess as to what FF stands for? Friction-free. A friction-free contract is way more important. If you're off the, let's say that you're going after a property that's $350,000, right? When you do all your machinations calculations, it's a $400,000 neighborhood. You're going to offer like $325 or $350. If your contract is written in a way that it's friction-free, nobody cares whether you offered $350 or $325. They seriously don't. Because they will see that your contract is friction, and if there's any flexibility whatsoever, they're going to ask you to come up. The fact that you're $10,000 off, $20,000 off, right? Now, you don't want to be too low. That's why I said don't add all that junk in the contract about my profit and my fee and my this and my that. I mean, if you're in there and you're in the hunt with other rehabbers and other wholesalers, and hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something yesterday from the video with Dave about how a rehabber approaches their pricing versus a wholesaler, right? Because a rehabber is not paying that marked up, so therefore they typically can't offer an extra $5,000 or $10,000, but it's only an extra $5,000 or $10,000. They're not offering $50,000 more, right? But they know if they're going to have to deal directly and there's no wholesaler involved, they're probably say, okay, well, I'll offer an extra $5,000. So in which case the Mayo Formula doesn't work, because they're like, okay, I know my Mayo Formula is this, but I'm going to offer an extra $5,000 or $10,000 because there's no wholesale fee in it, right? So, or wholesale profit, excuse me. So bottom line is this: the contract being friction-free is way more important than the price. You don't want your price so low that you're out of it. But by the same token, the pricing is not the most important thing. How you present the offer and the way you write the offer is way more important. That's like 90% of the ballgame. The price is 10%. You want to get the price right, but you don't want to overly stress about the price, okay? Does that make sense to folks? Does that make sense to you? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Makes sense. Okay. All right. So the Mayo Formula is what we use when we make those first initial offers. That's how we go after it. That's what we use. Okay. Okay. Please repeat the information we post to Facebook and other groups when marketing the deal to an end buyer. Let me read that again because I'm not really understanding it. Please repeat the information we post to Facebook and other groups when marketing the deal. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to post, well, you want to put, once you have it under contract, once you have it under control, then you're going to put it on Real Offers, you're going to put it on Craigslist, you're going to put it on Meetup, you're going to put it on all kinds of different websites. And you also want to have it listed on your website, the one I'm going to teach you how to build in 3 minutes or less, right? In about 10 minutes, right? So you should just put the property, put the address, put a little video, put everything. Once you have it under control, there's not much anybody can do about it. But if you don't have it under control, you don't want to really put anything out there, because somebody can come behind you and steal your offer. But once you have it under contract, nobody can come along and steal your offer. Will we ever get to the point of not handwriting offers? Yes. At the point that you've done 100, which is my recommendation, you should then start looking to use some kind of handwritten software, and probably something like DocuSign. And I didn't really cover that at any great depth in this class. But the bottom line is this: when you upload a document to DocuSign, typically the document's already filled out. All you're doing is putting a tag or a tab in there for the signature. So you're always going to be either doing handwriting or using a handwritten font. I recommend doing handwriting for at least the first 100. People like to fight me on it, so I'm like, okay, fine. You want to fight me on it? Do the first 25. But you should at least be in the habit of handwriting that first batch, because I'm just of the belief that if you're handwriting offers with boilerplate contracts, you're reading the contract as you're filling in the blanks. Most people don't just fill in 100 contracts and don't bother to read what the language says. And my goal is to get you to read that stuff so that you know what you're signing, because you really should know what you're signing before you send it out. So that's why I say the first 100. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we pivot? Before we pivot to phase 2. Am I on the right slide? Yes, I'm on the right side. All right. Any other questions? All right. Then let's go ahead and pivot. So let's break it down. First up, phase 2, FSBOs. First thing we want to do after we're in the highest and best and we get that first deal under contract, we want to use that first deal the same way a fisherman or a fisherwoman uses the bait fish. Anybody who's ever gone deep sea fishing, I've done it once. Once is enough. I'll never do it again in my life. Oh my God, I've never seen waves like that. The first thing we did was when we got about maybe a mile off, the captain had us cast off lines and catch fish. And we were all excited because we caught fish that were like 3-4 inches long. We're like, oh, we got a fish, we got a baby fish. Like Baby Yoda, we got the baby fish. And he's like, oh, don't get so excited. That's the bait fish. And some of them he kept whole, some of them he started chopping up into pieces. Like, oh my God, he's chopping a little fish into pieces. And then he took the helm and we went out like another hour, like 15 miles off the coast. And the waves started coming in like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna die. And we took the little bait fish to catch the bigger fish. Well, think of it this way. We're gonna use that first deal like our bait fish. The best way to build a buyer's list is to have a deal. Please write that down. The best way to build a buyer's list is to have a deal. And my friends, if you heard me say it once, you'll hear me say it a couple of dozen times. The money's in the list. The money is in the list. We want to get really, really good at list building starting day one. And the first list we need to build is our buyer's list, because the truth of the matter is our buyer's list can be used for other purposes, like cultivating relationships and ultimately finding partners and ultimately finding private investors. Your private investors are going to come out of your buyer's list, because not everybody on your buyer's list is a buyer. And the best way to get people on your buyer's list is to offer deals. The best way to get people on your buyer's list is to offer deals. And the best way to offer deals is to have one. Ladies and gentlemen, please complete this sentence. The currency of real estate is, put it in the chat box, deals. Deals makes this whole thing go round. Deals. So our number one objective is to get the first deal. Yes. And when we do that, we want to shop it high and wide, because people will come from all over God's creation to try and get that deal, especially if the deal is a deal. Especially if the deal is a deal. So we're going to take that first deal and we're going to shop it. And we're going to put it on Craigslist. We're going to put it on meetup pages. We're going to put it on Facebook groups or into Facebook groups. We're going to put it on Real Offers. We're going to put it everywhere. There's only one place we will not put the first deal. Can anybody guess what's the one place we are not going to post this first deal? That's right, the MLS. We're not going to post it in the MLS, right? Two reasons why we're not going to post it in the MLS. Number one, you don't have access to the MLS, right? Only real estate agents who are realtors, who are a member of the board of realtors have access. But even if you did have access, You do not want to put the deal in MLS because the seller's agent will see your listing. In fact, they'll actually be notified by the MLS saying, hey, don't you currently have a listing on this property? Someone else is trying to list it. And then you're going to have all hell break loose. Don't do that. So put it on Craigslist, put it on Facebook groups, put it everywhere you can think of, okay? And when people start to respond, have a tool to collect their name, email address, and phone number. Their name, well, what about their physical address? If you want to, but that's not really the most important. The most important thing is I need your name and a way to get back in touch with you. And I'm probably not going to snail mail you. Trust me, nobody's snail mailing anybody anymore. I'm going to email you or I'm going to call you. So those are the two most important things. Now, would it be great to have your Facebook information? Sure, that would be great, right? And there's a way that we can get that without even asking for it. But the most important thing is to get your name, to get your follow-up contact information, phone number, and email address. And then engage those folks in a conversation. Ask them, what are you looking for, right? Listen, not everybody who responds to your posting, your deal, is going to get the deal. All right, think about it this way. Has anybody ever driven through a neighborhood and seen a house with a for sale sign in the front yard? Anybody ever seen that once in your life? Give me hands up, thumbs up. All right. Have you ever seen that same house where once the house is sold, a little sold sign goes on the sign? What do they call those things? Oh, at least what do they call those things? A little signs that, is it a rider? Is that what they call it? The rider? There, thank you, rider. So it's a little rider sign. It's a little teeny sign that gets attached to the big sign that says sold, right? And has anybody ever paid attention to how long that little rider sign is up? Yeah, just sold, right? Recently sold, right? How long is that sold sign up? Anybody pay attention to that? Anybody want to guess how long? Yeah, long time. Yeah, it's typically up until the day of settlement. It's typically up to the day of settlement. So if the settlement's 30 days, it'll be up for 30 days. If it's up, if the settlement's 45, it'll be 45. If it winds up being 69, it'll be up for that whole time. Why in the world does the real estate agent need to keep the sign up in the yard even though the house is sold? Why would they do that? You know why they do that. It's great marketing. It says to the whole neighborhood, if you want somebody who can sell your house, I'm your gal, I'm your guy. See how I sold that house in a week? How do you know I sold that house in a week? Because after 7 days, you saw my sold, just sold, recently sold, double sold. Now, let me tell you another little insider secret. I've been giving you guys insider secrets all 21 days long or 20 days long. Let me give you one more. Do you guys know that there's actually a law? There's actually a law that says that the real estate agent has to take the sign down on the day of settlement. Anybody want to guess why there's a law that says that the real estate agent has to take the sign down on the day of settlement? Because if there wasn't a law, that sign would stay in the yard for a couple of years. And quite frankly, in the old days, it used to be that way. People are like, well, you gonna come get your sign this week? Yeah, I'll be out this week. And then this week would come and go, right? That real estate agent knows that having a sign in the yard that says it's sold is a reminder to everybody in that neighborhood that they, in that month, were the king tiger. All right, now think about this for a second. You're a wholesaler. What's the single most important tool you'll ever have in your toolkit as a wholesaler? And I know that's a bit of a trick question because I've never given you the answer before. I'm giving you the answer now. Y'all say deals, contract, okay, good deal, okay. That's nice. It just happens to be wrong. Your buyer's list. Your buyer's list is the single most important tool you'll ever have. Your buyer's list is the single most important tool you'll ever have. Your buyer's list in any business you ever go into will be the single most important tool you ever have. For the life of me, I do not know why restaurants don't do a better job of collecting the names of their customers. Had there been restaurants who were collecting the names of their customers, when the pandemic hit, they could have very easily called up those best customers and say, hey, you're a really good customer. Is there anything we can we deliver the food to you? You love our food. What can we do during this period of time that you can't physically come in? And they could have ka-ching, wrote their own check. Not have to guess what's next. Just call the customer and say, hey, customer, what can we do now that we physically can't have you in our restaurant anymore. Okay? Somebody says Founding Farmers is doing that now. Smart marketeers, smart business people understand the single most important tool you will ever have is the list of your customers. There's nothing more important in any business than the list and contact information of your customers. In the real estate space, the wholesaling space, we call it a buyer's list. It's the most important tool you'll ever have. Why? Because if you actually build one and get to know the people on your list, you can start to ask them, hey, how many deals you plan on doing this year? Hey, what neighborhoods are you looking in? Hey, what price points are you looking to spend? Hey, if I find a deal and I call you first, can I get together with you and maybe have you mentor me a little bit and look over your shoulder a little bit to learn a little bit more about your operation so I can bring you more deals? See, the currency of this business is deals, but the smartest way to build a business is to have a list of customers that you can go find deals for them, as opposed to just sort of blindly putting stuff out into the MLS, which nothing wrong with it, but that's what you're going to turn over to your virtual assistant. And then you're going to focus on targeting specific neighborhoods, specific situations, specific opportunities to bring to the people on your buyer's list, the real buyers on your buyer's list. So the first step in that process is we got to build one. We got to get names on the buyer's list. And the fastest, quickest way to make that happen is to have a deal, not a bunch of them, just one. And use that as bait to attract people to get on your list. And then once they're on your list, call them up and talk to them. Don't send them a survey monkey survey. Don't have some highfalutin, that's a fancy word, right? My $5 word. Don't have some highfalutin market research firm call them for you. You call them and ask them a very simple question. Hey, I see you're interested in that deal. Unfortunately, that deal is no longer available. Tell me what you're looking for. So maybe the next time I get a deal come across my desk, I will call you first. If you get a mediocre response to that, I mean, what could be more golden than somebody wanting to call you first, right? If you get a mediocre response to that, you know what that tells you? That person's not a real buyer. They're just like you. They're a first-time investor. They saw, went to some training, and when they saw that you had a deal, they put their information up. But they have no interest in getting a deal from you. Well, don't kick them to the curb. Don't pluck them out of your list yet. Let them answer the question. And if the question's kind of soft and squishy, you say, well, do me a favor, can I ask them just another question? What's that? How long have you been at this? Well, truthfully, I'm kind of new. Okay, no worries. No worries. By the way, every once in a while, I let people go out with me and look over my shoulder. Would you be interested in something like that? Yeah, would I? Sure. Okay, well, when I do it, I charge like $500. Would that be a problem? $500? That all? No, listen, next time you go out in the field, call me up and let me know. I'll be there with you. They're on your buyer's list, but what did they just tell you? Put in the chat box if you know what they just told you. Yeah, you had this thing called a buyer's list, right? Yeah, they're just like you, and they're looking for somebody they can look over their shoulder and see how things really get done. And oh, by the way, they said they also had $500 they could spend. You know what that sounds like to me? Ka-ching, ka-ching. Sounds like a $2,000 day. Anybody here like to have a $2,000 day when you weren't going to have a $2,000 day? How would you know that? You would only know that if A, they were on your list, and B, you bothered to call them and ask them what they were looking for. And if you're sensitive enough to actually listen, God gave us one mouth, two ears for a reason. We're supposed to talk half as much as we listen. I said that to myself every day. Sometimes I do it. But if we're actually sensitive enough to listen to what they have to say, they may very well tell us why they're on our list and what they're looking for. Yes, we are looking to build a relationship with the people on our list. And we need to understand, here's that metric thing again. We need to understand, probably about 3 to 5% of the people on your list are actual buyers. And the only way you'll ever know if they're really a buyer is if you put a deal in front of them. That's it. But 30 to 50% of the people, actually 50 is too high. 20 to 30% of the people on your list are potential private investors. How would you ever know if somebody is a potential private investor who's on your buyer's list? How would you know that? Somebody please answer that by putting it in the chat box. How would you know that? Exactly. You got to ask them. You got to ask. There's no way around it. Now you got to ask them the right way. You know, I wouldn't go to somebody who's on your buyers list and say, hey, you're on my buyers list. Are you really a buyer or are you a private investor? Which are you? Don't do it that way. But if you go back to your list and say, hey, listen, I've sent a bunch of deals your way and I noticed that you haven't really responded. Is it possible that you might be interested in doing some other things with me? Like, I'm looking to put together a small investment group to do my next deal. And I think there's a pretty good profit. Would you like to come to a webinar or a Zoom call? I wouldn't even use the word webinar anymore because webinar is becoming like a dirty word. Would you like to come to a Zoom call for 45 minutes to have me talk about my next deal, learn about that? Would I? Heck yeah. If you ask them the right way, they'll raise their hand and go, yeah, I'm interested in that too. And if you are building your buyers list the right way, you'll be able to tag them as a potential private investor or tag them as a potential come out and look over my shoulder or tag them as a potential partner because maybe they got money, maybe they got FICO score, and the one thing that they're missing is the time to go out and do this business and the knowledge of how to do it properly. And they're just looking for somebody to partner with. And they're looking over your shoulder, so to speak, for months, if not years, before they finally work up the courage to go, hey, you know what? I've been watching you for a while. Is there any way possible I could be a co-investor with you? And the only way you can move people from one big bucket into these smaller buckets or tag them is to ask them what they're looking for. In other words, build the list and then build a relationship with the people on your list. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that very first deal, the one we get within 21 days or less, and we're going to shop it everywhere. We're going to market it everywhere. And we're going to ask people to get onto our list. Okay, now, can you use software for that? Sure you can, but you don't necessarily have to use software. You can set up a phone number with a voicemail box and just have people call the voicemail. Say, hey, I got a deal. Please call me ASAP. And when they call that phone number, they hear a recording that says, hey, it's Sherman with Tradewinds Realty Partners. You're probably calling about the deal. Please do me a favor, leave your name, your number, your email address, and a good time to call you back, or the best time or the best email to email you back, and I'll get right back to you so that we can discuss this deal. Did everybody hear my recording? And don't ask Sherman to repeat it. Go back and watch it in the Facebook group. Because y'all know sometimes I make this stuff up on the fly. But if I make it up on the fly, this is what I said 20 years ago, right? So now they're calling a voicemail box and leaving a message. Notice, I didn't say, are you calling about 123 Maple? Why do I want to re-record my message every time I got a new deal? Make it generic. Make it evergreen. Hey, it's Sherman with Tradewinds Realty Partners. Make sure they know that they got the right number, right? I bet you're calling about the deal. Of course they're calling about the deal. Why would they be calling this? Why would they be calling this phone line at all if it wasn't to talk about the deal? Please leave your name, number, and best email address. Leave a time for me to call or the best email so I can email you right back. And I promise to get right back to you. Notice, I didn't say about get back to you in 24 hours. I didn't say anything about get back to you at 5 o'clock tomorrow. I just said I promise to get back to you. Let people close their own mental loops in terms of what they think they heard, okay? And then they just leave their name and number. There's no fancy software in that. You get yourself an account at phone.com, or what did Amy say, Ring Central? Phone.com, I think, is $9.95 a month. I don't know what Ring Central is because I don't use them, but when I looked at their website, they're very, very similar to phone.com. And you can create an unlimited number of what they call virtual phone numbers. And you can even get vanity numbers, not just vanity toll-free, but vanity local numbers. Although I don't necessarily recommend you get a vanity local number, but you should have a local number. If you're marketing deals in the DC area, you should have a DC area phone number. If you're marketing deals in Atlanta, you should have a Greater Atlanta 404, right? Wherever you are, I think you should have a local. Now, if it makes sense to have a vanity number, that's cool, but probably better to get a number that's easy to remember. And if you go to phone.com or Ring Central or any of these companies that provide voice over IP, they'll typically have a database and you can search to find what phone numbers are available. Find something that's easy. Google Voice is fine. I think Google Voice is free. There's nothing wrong with that when you're first getting started. But again, the most important thing is we don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on pieces of software that we now got to spend another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks to learn. Just set it up simple. Keep it simple, Sherman. Type that in the chat box. Keep it simple, Sherman. Type it in the chat box right now. Just type that in the chat box, please. Keep it simple, all right? So they call the phone number. They leave the information. If you are still working your business, then you transcribe it. Guess what? If they actually talk slow enough and clear enough, the Google Voice or the phone.com or Ring Central will transcribe it. And then you just cut and paste it into whatever database you're using. Does that make sense? And if you're no longer in that part of your business, make that one of the tasks of your virtual assistant. Because if you get a really good deal and you put it on every website and put it out there, you might get hundreds of phone calls, hundreds. And not all of them are going to be intelligible. Not all of them are going to be actually be able to listen and understand what they're saying. Somebody's going to have to call them back. Somebody's going to have to email them. Somebody's going to try to figure out, listen to that recording 3, 4 times, figure out, was that a 6 or 2? All right? So keep it simple. Have an email address that's tied to your business that people can email. But email, look, email, I'm gonna tell you guys something. Email is just getting horrible. It's not 100%. It's not foolproof. I would much rather have somebody call a phone number, but I'll give them options. I'll say email me or call, but I would much rather have somebody call if you really want to put them onto your list. It's just so much simpler. On top of which, if they got the information and they see the phone number, they're gonna pick up the cell phone and call. They're gonna just do that. That's what most people do, or text. If you got the ability to receive text. I don't know if Google Voice would do that. I know that phone.com does that. And I'm pretty sure Ring Central does that. So call, text, email. Email's probably the worst of the bunch. Call's probably number 1, top of the list. And just leave a message. And then transcribe their information and then do exactly what you said in the recording. Make some time to call them back. Now, you can have your virtual assistant call them back, but if it was me, I would call them back. And I would just ask them some simple questions. Hey, thanks for leaving the information. Unfortunately, that deal is no longer available. Were you looking for other deals in Capitol Heights? Were you looking for other deals in Bowie? Were you looking for other deals in Baltimore? Tell me what your buying criteria is. How long you been at this? How many houses you think you'll buy? I mean, get them on the phone and have a couple of questions to ask, but just let the conversation go where the conversation goes. That's what it means to build a relationship. If you get some kind of pushback or a sensing of, hey, they really don't want to talk, they probably don't want to talk because they're a newbie and they feel like they're getting grilled. Don't grill them, right? And just be prepared to switch gears. If you kind of sense they're a newbie, say, hey, by the way, you know, it sounds like you're kind of new to the game. I don't mean to assume anything, but is that the only reason I ask is because every once in a while I'll take some other new investors like me, because I was new, you know, a few months ago, and I'll just go out in the field and let some people come along, ride shotgun, or look over my shoulder, or meet me at the property and see how I do what I do. Would you be interested in that? Ka-ching, ka-ching. That's a $500 LOS. Ka-ching, ka-ching. That's a potential partner. Don't forget to ask them what they do. By the way, are you doing this full time? Oh no, man, I wish I could do this full time, but I got this business to run. You know, and this business is killing me right now. You know, we're down. We were $10 million last year. We're down to $5 million this year. Had to lay a whole bunch of people off. I want to just get back to doing my real estate thing, but man, it's just kicking my butt. Well, you know, somebody who's still doing $5 million has still got a profitable business, probably. Sounds like a private investor to me. Sounds like somebody who may want to come, if you come across a commercial deal, might be interested in some commercial properties or an apartment. If you ask them, they will tell you. And when they tell you, listen. And that's why I would much rather be talking to people than having my virtual assistant talk to them. I know some people are scared to talk to people on the phone, but it's amazing what people will tell you when you actually get into a conversation. I'm just saying. Okay? All right, so then you build your buyers list, you have conversations, you figure out who the real buyers are. And for those who are real buyers, the 3 to 5%, you go into the business of reverse wholesaling. They tell you what they're looking for. They tell you what they want to spend. They tell you what neighborhoods. That's where you start focusing your attention as you're doing phase 2 marketing. You're looking for deals for them. And along the way, if you are also listening to the people who are on your buyers list and asking them really simple, non-obtrusive questions like, well, how many properties do you think you're going to buy this year? What kind of property are you looking to buy this year? You may very quickly realize, yeah, 3 to 5% are buyers, but there's 1 or 2 that are uber buyers, super buyers, mega buyers. And I really need to cozy up to the mega buyers because I'm going to do 10 times as much business with them as I am with the other 4. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Please give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to you. That can only happen if you are building a list and establishing a relationship with the list. And the only way, I won't say the only way to build a list, the fastest, best way to build a list is to have a, put in chat box, have a what? Have a what? What's the fastest way? A deal. And you only need 1. You don't need 100 deals to build a really fantastic buyer list. You just need 1. One deal is good for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then it's like fish. You haven't eaten it by now, you need to throw it out. Okay? But one deal will get you probably close to 100 names on your list if you market it properly. One deal. Okay? Am I going to touch on Remime? No. Remime is an advanced topic for advanced folks. I'll be more than happy to talk about Remime next week. But for the purpose of this class, the 21-day class, no. Remime is not appropriate place for most folks to pivot to, but it is a great question. All right, so first deal, bait fish, use it to build our buyers list, get folks on the buyers list, and then start talking to them. And for every 100 names on your buyers list, please write this down. For every 100 names on your buyers list, you have probably 3 to 5 buyers, 1 of which will be a mega buyer, 4 of which will be so-so buyers. Focus on the mega buyers for doing your phase 2 marketing and getting your 10x wholesale profits in your reverse wholesaling. But for every 100 names on your buyers list, you also probably have 25 to 30 private investors or potential partners. Make sure you're talking to them too. It is beyond the scope of this 21-day course to talk about cultivating private investors, but it is not beyond the scope of our relationship should you guys decide to continue on by doing something like the apprentice class, or those of you who are members and coming to the Dealmaker Workshop, or those of you who are going to take any of the other real investor classes like the FSBO class or the Where to Get the Money class. All of these names, all these relationships are cultivated from your buyers list. The first thing we want to create in the business to make the business grow is that buyers list. And the number one thing we need to grow the buyers list is a what? Put in the chat box. Let me hear you say it. Deal. You guys are so smart. You guys are on it. That's exactly right. The most important reason, to implement the 21-day course is to get 1 deal so that we can build our 7-figure buyers list. All the other magic, everything else that happens after we get that first deal. You guys understand why I was going crazy on you guys last week? And you got to get the first, it's true. All the magic comes from that first deal. That first deal puts everything in motion. And if you dilly-dally and play around, and I don't even want to use that word, fiddle art around, and don't take this thing seriously, and take what's supposed to be a 21-day program and turn it into a 21-week or 21-year program, you're gonna be sitting there in a corner with your arms folded going, you're gonna be looking like Bernie. You're gonna be like, this doesn't work. No, it's not that it doesn't work, you didn't work it. And everybody else is like doing the happy dance, like, why are they so happy? Why are they so happy? All they did was 1 deal and built a 6-figure business off of 1 deal. Because do you guys understand, if you use 1 deal to get 100 names and get 3 to 5 buyers, those 3 to 5 buyers will direct you to where to go get the $20,000 wholesale profits. You can do a $100,000 a year business just off of doing phase 2. You can do a $100,000 a year business just off of doing phase 2 by having 4 to 5 serious buyers that are talking to you. But you will never get those 4 to 5 serious buyers talking to you until you get the 1 deal. People are not kidding when they say that first deal is the single most important deal. It sets the whole thing in motion if you're doing it the right way. If that makes sense to anybody other than me, please give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, makes sense. All right. So is everybody seeing how we're pivoting into phase two? Everybody seeing how we're going to use that first deal to build a buyer's list, and everybody seeing how we're going to build the buyer's list and then develop a relationship with the people on the buyer's list to get out there and start doing reverse wholesaling and 10x wholesaling. Getting it? All right. Let's keep going. And I need to stop showing. This happens every once in a while in Zoom. I can't figure out why it is, but I get these like little stray squigglies. So I stop sharing and I reshare. Okay. So next, where are you? Where is ya? I think we're here. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right. Next. So the key to going in motion, the key is going in motion and applying what you've learned the past 21 days, then pivot to phase two. So we get the deal under control. Everybody understands how to get a deal under control now. Yes? Give me a thumbs up if you understand how to get a deal under control. We use the Board of Realtor contract. We put them out there. We let our agent, our investor agent, our diamond coach negotiate on our behalf, help us get the fish in the boat. Boom, one under contract. Now we got a deal, right? Then we post it everywhere. We post it in the Facebook groups. We post it on Real Offers. We post it in the meetup groups. Like, Sherman, where are these meetup groups and where are these Facebook groups? Y'all remember that conversation we had on day two? Anybody here remember that conversation we had on day two? Where old Uncle Sherman with the gray hair said, I want you to go out and join all the Facebook groups you can find, all the meetup groups you can find, and don't get suckered into their way of doing things. Just join the group and just be silent for a while. Anybody remember that conversation other than me? Day two. We had the conversation day two. All right. If you actually did it, you've now been a member of at least a dozen real estate Facebook meetup groups for almost a month. You're no longer a newbie. You're no longer a poacher. You're almost family. Notice what Sherman didn't say. I didn't say bigger pockets. There's nothing wrong with bigger pockets. There's nothing wrong with some of these online websites, except they're not local. Your meetup groups are local, wherever you are. Your real estate meetup groups are local. Your real estate Facebook groups, yes, there are some national ones, but most of them are local. And here's the trick. If you join one or two local Facebook groups, guess what's going to happen? If you join one or two local real estate investor Facebook groups, guess what Facebook is going to do to you? And guess what Meetup is going to do to you after you join one? Anybody will put that in the chat box. What happens after you join one? What happens after you join one? Put it in the chat box. Please tell me what happens after you join one. After you join one. You got that right. Both Facebook and Meetup suggest more based on your zip code. They know where you live, folks. Exactly. They got that algorithm. They know exactly where you are and when you are, because they also follow you on your phone. They're like, oh, no. He's not at home right now. He's over at the school picking up the kids. No, he's over at the Giant. No, we know exactly where he is. Show him those ads. When you join one, you get like another dozen suggested. Now, let me ask the magic question without embarrassing anybody. How many of you guys actually did what Sherman said to do back on day two and joined at least one or two of these meetup groups or Facebook groups? Wonderful, 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 wonderful. 4 of you did. 4 of you did. 86 of you didn't. Oh, here you go. Here you go. All right. So so the question of where do I post these? You already know. Post them in the groups where you already belong. And chances are over the past 20 days, you have seen people posting deals. And you got a feel of, okay, is this group okay to post deals? Or is this group where like if I post a deal, they're going to kick me out? You know, if you did what I asked you to do 18 days ago on day two, you know what the flow and the feel of that group is and what you can get away with. Same is true of the meetups. Same is true, although generally speaking, meetups are a little more friendly towards posting deals. That's where you post them. Post them in the Facebook, post them in the meetup, post them on the Real Offers, post them on the Craigslist, right? Although Craigslist is going to charge you, right? And see what happens. Now, am I saying don't post on Bigger Pockets? I mean, if you can get away with it, but I think Bigger Pockets kind of frowns on posting deals too. So, and any other kind of forums out there, you know, that as the technology changes, more and more of these dedicated forums are sort of drying up and going away. Used to be that you could do this on National Real Estate Investors, National Real's website. You can't do that anymore. Used to be you could post it on a website called CRE, Creative Real Estate Online. Creative Real Estate Online sold out. Now it's called Commercial Real Estate Online, and they don't let single family house residential investors post anymore. So the landscape changes so quick when it comes to technology, but the one place that people are hanging out locally and talking about deals is still your local real estate investor groups, and most of them have meetup pages, multiple meetup pages. I mean, our group has, believe it or not, we have somewhere close to now 50 meetup groups that we post stuff into and that we control. Why? Because generally speaking, people start a meetup and then they get bored and quit. And then if nobody takes it over, they offer it up to all the people in the group. And so over the past several years, we've taken over close to 30, 40 meetup groups, Facebook groups, lots of Facebook, and more coming all the time. So again, join one and you're going to get invited to all the rest. Okay. And just post the deals out there and have a place for people to come and capture their information. All right. As we like to say in the FSBO marketing class, right? We always take the Ninja Creed. Those of you who've taken the FSBO marketing class, you know exactly what I'm about to say. And the Ninja Creed goes like this. He who has a thing to sell and only whispers in a well is much less apt to get the dollar than he who climbs a tree and hollers. Tell everybody that you possibly can that you got a deal and capture their information. And once the deal closes, continue to capture their information. There's nothing in the world, there's no sound as sweet as the words I'm about to utter. I used to love saying this. Somebody called me up 2 days after the deal's already been wholesaled, and I would typically wholesale my deals within 48 to 72 hours. And somebody calls me, hey, Sherman, that deal, oh, I'm so sorry. I just picked up the check this morning, but tell me what you're looking for, and I'm sure I can find something for you because I'm very active in the market. So tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me what you're doing. And then just go into your doctor mode, right? Go into your diagnostician, be a diagnostic person, right? Just go in your diagnostic mode and just listen and let people tell you what they want to tell you and then respond in kind. Well, I'm just getting started. I'm really kind of new at this myself. Oh, okay, well, tell me something. Oh, what do you do? Oh, well, I work for the federal government. I'm an SES, and I'm just starting to have more time because as an SES, I don't have to work quite as hard as I did as a GS-15. But, and I'm getting ready to come up on retirement. I'm just trying to get some deals done. I just give my left arm if I could just get a couple deals done. Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very active right now. And every once in a while, I look for partners. Would you have any interest whatsoever in partnering with somebody? Yeah. How's that work? Well, first thing we got to do is I got to explain to you how I do the business. And so the best way to do is just have you come look over my shoulder one day when I'm out in the field. Is there a possibility you can take a day off from work or half a day off from work? Yeah. How do Mondays look? Pretty good. All right. So if you're willing to, you can just meet me at one of my properties that I'm working on and just sort of see what I'm doing, and then we can go from there. So now the conversation has now cultivated a relationship with a potential partner, somebody who probably has a 750 or 800 FICO score and probably has boatloads of money. How would I even know that? Ask questions. The more you ask and shut up, the more they tell, and the better able and the better equipped you are to take that conversation in a specific direction. Get your $500. You know what? If somebody told me they were an SES, does everybody know what an SES is? Everybody know what an SES is? Senior Executive Service. What's sort of the going pay rate for an SES these days? 150 grand, 200 grand? How many years does it take to become an SES? Pretty much your whole career. If somebody tells me they're SES, I may or may not ask them for $500. I know you're joking, but you see what I'm saying? And by asking people questions, you can kind of figure which way you take it. Now, somebody says to me, I just graduated from college about 3-4 years ago, and I'm working really, really hard. And okay, give me $500. because that puts them at a certain level. I rarely ever give anything away for free anymore, even though I could. Many of you guys who are going through this course right now, you didn't get it for free. You paid something. You want to know why you paid something? Because if I had said, oh, come along with me for 21 days live every day, set that aside, and oh, by the way, it's free, I would have probably had 1,000 people sign up, and I probably would have had 50 show up. But if I say it's $297 and you got to promise to give me a rating at the end, y'all hear every day. Because like that's some real money. It's not all the money. It's not a lot of money, but it's like I put some money on the table. I'm going to get my money's worth. Does that make sense to folks? So you want, again, when you're talking about a look over your shoulder, your standard rate ought to be about $500. But the most important thing is if somebody says something to you and you realize you want to take the relationship in a different direction, you don't always have to charge the $500. Just saying. Okay. All right. So is everybody understanding these sort of three key things we're talking about? Get the deal under control, post the deal everywhere, continue to capture information even after the deal closes. Three very simple concepts. Keep it simple, Sherman. Write that in the chat box. Keep it simple, Sherman. I'm keeping it simple, keeping it real, keeping it simple. All right, everybody got that? All right, next up. Let's talk about getting that website up in 3 minutes or less. And I'm going to tell you how to do it, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to demonstrate it. But if you want to come tomorrow during the open office hours, I'll have plenty of time to demonstrate it at least 3 or 4 or 5 times. So I'm going to tell you how to do it. Then I'm going to show you a website that I did exactly this, but I'm not going to actually like open up Windows and stuff and demo this today, right? But I will demo it tomorrow because I have a lot more time. But I still got a lot of territory to cover today. Okay, so here we go. How do you set up a website in 3 minutes or less? Step 1, register a domain name. And y'all gonna be like, well, Sherman, do I use GoDaddy? Do I use Enum? Do I use 50-cent domains? I don't care what you use. Just use somebody who's somewhat reputable. Don't use no fly-by-night, because I have heard horror stories about people registering domain names and then the domain registrar, that's what they're called, goes out of business and their domain name gets evaporated, eviscerated, gone, smoke. All right, so GoDaddy's fine. I mean, I use Enum because I use a company called Bulk Register, and Enum bought them years ago. And I've had my stuff at Enum Bulk Register for going on, gosh, probably 20 years plus. So register the domain name. Well, what name should I register? I generally recommend you register the name of your business. If you've kind of settled in that this is what I'm going to call my business, some of you guys are still sort of playing around with that, but register the business and register your own name. And register your own name. By the way, do not put your initials in it. If your name is Sherman Ragland, register shermanragland.com. Oh, too late, I already got it. Ah! But whatever your name, first name, last name.com. Okay? Get your hands on it. If you have to do something else, do something else, but try to get at least your own name and the name of your business. Okay? And keep it simple. I recommend you do both. Which one do you use? That's really a personal choice. If you want to use the name of your business and not your personal name, that's fine. But you should still have your own name, because at some point in time, you're going to realize what value you have in your own name. And you're going to wish to goodness that you had registered your own domain name. All right. If you have a sort of funky way of calling your business or funky spelling of your business, register the misspellings too. All the more reason to have a really straightforward name, right? But if you have a name that could be spelled either singular or plural for your business name, if you have a business name that, it sounds one way, but it's spelled another way, get the way you want it spelled, but then also get the one that might sort of kind of be the alternative spelling, okay? Register both. And only register.com. Do not waste your time on .net, .biz, .us, none of that crap. If we're standing in the line at the Giant and you're saying, hey man, aren't you sure? Yeah, you still doing real estate? Yeah. Hey man, I got a deal. Can I send you away? Yeah. Go to my website. Okay, what is your website? Okay, ShermanRagland.net. ShermanRagland. What? ShermanRagland.net. Sherman what? Sherman.net. And of course, we're all wearing masks, right? When they get to the car, they get home. What are they going to type in? Because they're not typing anything standing in the line at the grocery store, standing in the elevator. When they finally get to a computer or a mobile device, what are they going to type in? Somebody please tell me. whatever.com. Do not waste your time on anything other than the .com name. Well, what if the .com name is not available? Type it into the URL in your browser and see if there's a website. There's no website. Coming soon. This domain for sale. Buy the domain. But Sherman, they want $1,000. Okay, pay them $1,000. In the big scheme of the things, if you're building a $100,000 business that's going to wind up being a $200,000 business in the next 2 years, What difference does it make that you paid $1,000 for your domain name? You with me? Just because you can't register it and somebody else got to register doesn't mean they're actually using it. See if you can buy it. See if you can buy it. And if you can't buy it and it's not available, get something else. But don't get anything other than a .com. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up. Think of it this way. A domain name is something you say. 99.9% of the time, you're going to tell somebody the domain name. You're not going to email it to them. You're not going to write it to them. You're going to say it. You're going to say it over the phone. You're going to say it face to face. You're going to say it. And how they hear it is how they're going to type it, and they're going to put .com at the end. That's the domain name you want. The one that people hear, not the one that people see. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So next, after you get your domain name, get yourself a phone number. Okay. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's at phone.com, ringcentral.com, phonesareus.com, Google Voice, doesn't matter. Just get yourself a freaking phone number. Something other than the phone number on your cell phone or your house phone. Okay? Get yourself a phone number. It's a phone number for the business, a phone number for this aspect of the business. Because as time goes on, you're not going to answer it anyway. At the end of the day, you're going to turn this over to your virtual assistant. So don't use your cell phone number. You're not going to hand your cell phone to your virtual assistant, are you? Doubtful. So get yourself one of these voice over IP phone services. Like I said, phone.com is about $9 a month for a basic account. And I think that comes with 3 or 4 numbers and an unlimited number of virtual numbers and unlimited virtual mailboxes. I don't know what RingCentral is. Amy talked about that. She liked them. I looked at their website. They look very similar. And I think Google Voice is free. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Just get something, get up and running. Now, if you use phone.com, phone.com has a tool to register your phone number where you can actually pick a vanity number. If there's a local vanity number, I would go local first, easy to remember second. And if a vanity number makes sense and it's available, that would be like my third choice. But the main thing is get a local number and get a local number that's easy to remember. Local number, easy to remember, okay? Get your phone number and then set up a voicemail box or a virtual mailbox so that you can leave a message and then they can leave a message, and make sure that whatever phone service you use, there's an option to have you send a text message as soon as a voicemail drops so that you can be notified, and then later on your virtual assistant can be notified that, hey, you just got a new voicemail message, so that you really can listen to it right away and respond to it right away, because you do want to respond right away. You don't necessarily want to basically listen to people, but you do want to respond right away. And oh, by the way, should we be testing and measuring our voicemails? Should we be testing and measuring our voicemails? How many people think we should test and measure our voicemails? Give me yes or no. All right. So if you have a voice message and you are doing your marketing and people are calling the number, so they're seeing your ads, they're seeing your presence out there, and every time somebody calls, you get a text message saying, hey, somebody just left you a message, and you look down at your text message, it says, and it's a second, and then you call and all of your messages are 1 second long. What does that tell you if you're measuring properly? What does that tell you if all of your voicemail messages are a second or less? What does that tell you? Yeah, David had the most correct answer. It's not working. Somewhere along the way, you screwed up. Maybe there's something you said in your voice message, maybe your voice message didn't come through at all. Like maybe you thought you left this brilliant voicemail message and it didn't actually record at all. Like, because there's some of these voicemail servers you can actually upload a recording. Maybe you paid somebody some fancy music, background music, and the orchestra and everything. And by the time they got through listening to it, they couldn't hear a blasted thing. And so they just hung up. All right. For the most part, Kennedy, these are digital services, so they typically don't fill up. So what I'm talking about is when you have an ad or something out there and you say, please call 301-555-1212, and they call 301-555-1212, and they hear a voicemail message from you, and your voicemail is maybe 10 to 20 seconds long, and then their response is they hang up. If you are testing and measuring, what that says to you is something's wrong, I need to listen to my voicemail and figure out why people are hanging up. Maybe they're hanging up because they can't hear you clearly. Maybe they're hanging up because you spent a lot of money on some background music and it's too obnoxious. Maybe they're hanging up because you're telling them too much information. Hey, I bet you're calling about 123 Maple. 123 Maple is blah 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 blah. If you're interested, leave a message. Well, you told them everything. Why should they leave a message? Like, nah, I don't think I'm interested in that one. You told them too much. Why don't you just do what Sherman suggested you do in a simple, short, sweet message that sounds something like, hey, Sherman Ragland, Traders Realty Partners, bet you call about the property. Please leave your name. Please leave your number. Please leave your email. Speak slowly and clearly, and I promise to call you right back. Okay? Thanks. Bye. I am not trying to sell people on the property in my message. What is the purpose of the phone number and the voicemail box? What is the purpose of the, if you know what the purpose of the phone number and the voicemail box, please type it in the chat box. What's the purpose? Yes, builder buyers, yes, capture their contact info. Capture their contact, not try to explain everything there is explained about the deal. The purpose of the voicemail box is to capture their information, not you trying to sell them on your deal. Another classic rookie mistake. Keep it short, sweet, simple, and evergreen. You do a message like that and you consistently are getting people who are spending 2-3 minutes like slow talking there. Hi, this is Bob. I'm in Bowie. My phone number is 410-555-1212, and I'm Bob Bowie at gmail.com. That's BOBBO. You did your job. And how much easier is that going to be? Like, and now that you capture their information, then you can call them back and have a conversation. But don't try to sell the deal in your voicemail, because you're probably going to take, 50% of the people who call and go, well, you know what? Based on what that person just said, I don't think I want this deal. Bye, click. Always understand why you're doing what you're doing in your business and what your number one outcome is. Your number one outcome is not to sell the deal. Your number one outcome is to use the deal to capture people's information. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. And by tracking the performance of something as simple as your voicemail, you can very quickly realize, am I hitting the mark or am I really screwing this up? And oh, by the way, those of you who want to continue on in a coaching, mentoring relationship with me, we're going to get on the phone together and go, Sherman, my business is not working. Okay, what about your business not working? Well, I got that deal and I use the deal to shop around, but I'm just not building a buyer's list. Okay, what are you using to build a buyer's list? Well, I did exactly what you said. I set up, Google voicemail, and I got the recording. Okay, what does the recording say? Well, it says that, okay, you know what? Let's listen to it together. Let's just listen to it together. And all of a sudden you're gonna be like, oh, yeah, you told me not to do that, right? Yeah, okay, it's okay, it's okay. Now let's re-record it and re-record it this way. See, it's just like what we've been going through with this 21-day course. Those of you who did your homework and uploaded it to Facebook, you had a chance to be coached and mentored by me. And those of you who actually do what I'm encouraging you to do, if you want to continue on in some kind of a mentoring relationship, either through the apprentice program or through your membership, or maybe you decide you want to go on and be a VIP elite member, right? Get a little bit more of my time, get a little bit more of my schedule. If I'm going to help you build your business, we're going to have to break down your business into the component parts and see exactly what you're doing and figure out where is it going off the rails. Because one little thing can make a huge difference. As I said a couple days ago, little hinges swing big doors. Oftentimes, it's the most minute thing that can make the difference between you making $100,000 this year and making $50,000 this year or making $400,000 this year. Little hinges swing big doors. Okay. Do these services allow multiple mailbox options? I don't know. I don't care. Where in the last 15 minutes did I talk about having multiple mailboxes? Y'all ain't got the training wheels off the tricycle and y'all want the Harley to drive down the end of the driveway and you're 5 years old. How is that going to end? Guys, listen to me. Please keep it simple. When your business progresses to the point that you need more sophisticated tools, then we can talk about more sophisticated tools. But we're talking about getting your first deal done, the first 100 name on your buyers list, and your first $100,000. You don't need anything more than what I've given you these past 20 days. And you certainly don't need any kind of fancy phone system that's going to cost you $900 a month when all you really needed was one voicemail box. Stop swinging for the trees right now. And let's just get on first base. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to anybody other than me. All right? So we want one voicemail box with one simple set of options. And the simple set of options is I wanted to capture their information without cutting off because I got a 30-second limit. I want to make sure that I get a text message saying that this person has left this information. And then as soon as I get the text information, I want to go in, listen to the message, transcribe it, or have the system itself transcribe it if it does, or have my virtual assistant transcribe it. And then I want to have a conversation with that person. And once I do that, guess what? I can delete it and let the next person come onto the voicemail. So again, keep it simple. All right, so register domain name, select a phone number, set up a voicemail box, set it up so a text message hits you on your phone when a voicemail shows up. Ideally, and again, I know this for a fact on phone.com, phone.com will transcribe those messages, okay, automatically. It's part of the software, it's part of the system, okay? Next, third step. This is super, super simple if you keep it super, super simple. You are going to go into Facebook. And some of y'all be like, Sherman, I'm not on Facebook. If you're part of this group, you are. Oh yeah, that's right. I wasn't part of Facebook until you made me. Okay, great. You're gonna go onto Facebook and you're gonna set up something called a fan page. Well, excuse me, either a fan page or a business page. You're not gonna set up another account. You don't want another account, but you want something called a fan page or a business page. And a fan page or business page is a page that's just a placeholder that you can upload two pictures, something called a cover photo and something called a profile photo, and then you can post information on that page, but other people cannot post to your page. They can only see your post and they can only like the page. This is the same kind of thing that the celebrities have. All right, this is what J-Lo has. Because J-Lo's not talking to people through her Facebook page. She wants them to follow her, but she don't want to talk to them. And the same is true of you. You want people to follow you and friend you, but you do not want to have conversations with them. So it's not like your personal page. Does everybody understand that? Give me a thumbs up. Everybody understand that? Give a thumbs up. So if you have never done a fan page or a business page, that's what you're going to do. When you create a fan page or a business page, it does not allow people to friend you, and it does not allow people to communicate with you. But it's one-sided communication. You can say to them, hey, I got a new deal. You can upload a video into your fan page or your business page, and then they can go see it. Okay? But they can't post pictures of their poodles or their cats. They can't do the Russian troll thing and tell you what an idiot you are and have that garbage filling up the page. No, all they can do is see what you want them to see. Now, here's the beauty of Facebook. Number one, it's free. It's not $9 a month. It's not $90 a month. It's not $900. It's free. You can create a business page or a fan page for free. Number two, it's simple. If you've already created a personal page, you know all you need to know to create a fan page or a business page. Okay, it's simple. Number three, the Russian trolls can't hack it and take it down. If you decide to put up your own fancy WordPress website, you are only a matter of days before ultimately the Russian trolls destroy your website and wipe it out. And anybody who's ever had their own website knows exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, spend hundreds of millions of dollars every month to make sure that nobody hacks and takes down their website, okay? If Facebook goes down, we're all in trouble. The US government will fall before Facebook falls. I hope you guys understand that, okay? So it's free, it's simple, and it's virtually unhackable, especially for the purpose of what we want. Does everybody understand? Is everybody getting that? Give me a thumbs up if you understand and you get that, okay? So we don't have to spend a lot of money. We don't have to learn a lot of technology. We don't need to do any of that stuff, okay? Next, you're going to use a tool called Canva. Your homework for tonight is to go to Canva, C-A-N-V-A. I think it's available in the app. Well, I know it's available in the App Store. I'm not sure if there's a desktop version, but I know there's an iPad and an iPhone and a Droid version. And Canva has pre-done templates to do Facebook cover pages. All you have to do is go into Canva and say, I want to do a Facebook cover page. And there are hundreds of pre-done templates where all you have to do is add a picture, change the text, do whatever you want to do. And there are some specifically already done for real estate. I think there's a free version of Canva, and I think there's an inexpensive, like $9, and it's not even a subscription version of Canva. Okay? Very inexpensive, very good tool to let the creative side come out of you, even if you're not creative. Yes, Canva, C-A-N-V-A, like kind of like Canvas, but Canva. Okay? And we're going to use Canva to create 2 photos. You need to have 2 photos for your Facebook page. One for the cover page, and one for the cover photo, and one for what's called the profile photo. So there's a cover and a photo, just like on your personal Facebook page. Okay, just like on your personal Facebook page. Okay. So then, after we create the Facebook page, we're going to use Canva to upload a photo. We're going to drop in our phone number. We're going to add in an email if we want to have email. You don't have to have email, but if you have an email address for your business, you can register an email address at Gmail for your business once you've settled down on your business name, right? And then redirect that email to your personal page, your personal account, right? And then and then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the place where you registered your domain name, and you are going to cut and paste the URL. Facebook will give you a dedicated page for your page, a dedicated URL for the page. In other words, up in the top of the browser, right, in the upper left corner of the browser is the actual URL, right? That's where your page resides. You're going to cut and paste and take it back over to your domain registrar and look for something in your domain registrar called a redirect. You may have to get on the help desk with them if you've never done this before, but you're going to look for a redirect, and you're going to redirect your page, or redirect the domain, excuse me. You're going to redirect the domain back to that page. All 3 of these things, when I do it, is 3 minutes. If you've never done it before, it might be 10 minutes for you, but it's not going to be more than 10 minutes. And after you've done it once or twice, it'll be 3 minutes for you. It is the fastest, most secure, best way to do rapid website development. Just use Facebook, get a domain name and a phone number, and drop and paste those things in the appropriate boxes. Everybody got that? Does that make sense to everybody but me, including me? It's simple. God, Sherman, it's so simple. Yes, that's the point. It's so simple. Now, here's the deal. There's one hook. There is one hook. People who are not on Facebook are not going to be able to access the page without being on Facebook. So if you know that, so if you got people who are not on Facebook, but guess what? Everything I've been teaching you, everything I've been telling you is oriented towards people who are pretty much on Facebook, and many real estate investors are. So don't worry about the ones who are not on Facebook. Give them a reason to get on Facebook. Some of you guys weren't on Facebook before you started to sign up for this class, start going to this class, but remember what I said. We're going to use Facebook and the Facebook group for me to do your homework. How many people like the fact that you can upload your homework to Facebook and I'm answering it in real time as you're uploading it, as opposed to waiting for a week? You understand, if I had used any other tool other than Facebook, it might take more than a week for me to get back. Like, how many like getting real-time responses? Some of you guys are like uploading stuff. You're uploading 4 and 5 and 6 pages, and I'm commenting on each page as you're uploading it. Because I have Facebook set on my mobile devices that as soon as somebody starts posting stuff, it pings me. And if I'm like, okay, I got a couple of minutes, I'm in between stuff I'm working on and I want to respond to it, or like this class where I'm trying to be as hyper responsive as possible, I'm responding to your stuff in real time because I know you're submitting it in real time. Well, Sherman must be waiting around for me to submit my homework. No, he's not. He's going about his life. He's petting his dog. He's down at the gun range, although I'm not generally on Facebook when I'm doing that. Those things are kind of separate. But understanding this, you can have these tools out there that other people spent hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to create and millions of dollars to keep up and running. And you're just hacking it. We're just hacking Facebook. We're hacking a feature of Facebook. We're hacking a feature of domain names. We're creating that virtual company. Have you guys ever read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week? Anybody ever heard of that book, The 4-Hour Work Week? What was that guy's name? Tim Ferriss? This stuff is right out of the 4-Hour Work Week. And if you want to set specific times to respond to this stuff, respond to it. But don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and all of this market research and, oh, Sherman, I'll get a website built as soon as I can find a web developer who's going to charge me less than $1,000 to build my website. Are you out of your mind? Use the stuff that's already available. Hack the system. Hack the matrix. Got it? All right. So that's like, and again, if you've never done this, you may struggle for like 5 to 10 minutes, but once you do it, it's like you got it. And this now becomes your rapid development technique. All right. So let's take a look at a website that I actually did. And I actually just put this in our group. I linked them together, put it in our group so you guys could see this. I was at a seminar, a boot camp, really. Dee, when were we at that boot camp down in Orlando? There's about 10 of us that went down to Orlando. Was that 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Was that 4 years ago? Anybody remember? Martinez, you here? So Martinez went, Trinita went 2 years ago. Okay. So there was a group of us. We went down to Orlando, Florida. We were taught by a guy, very good teacher, Robert King, who was teaching us how to get into the assisted living business. And first couple of days were fantastic. And then the third day, he keeps on repeating the same thing over and over again. Okay, this is how we do it in Florida, but you guys may do it different when you get back to your home state. Well, you know, Maryland being a deep blue state, we do everything different. But on that third day, one of the things that Robert King said was, you need to have a website. So as he's literally speaking from the front of the room, I'm sitting near the back of the room and I'm creating the website. And I did exactly those 3 steps I told you to do. Step 1, find a decent domain name. I actually found the domain name before I actually created the LLC. And I'm like, what would be a good name for an assisted living? Such and such home, such and such. And I went into my domain name registrar, and they have something called a spinning tool or a spinner tool, where if you tell it what you want, it comes back with like 50 different variations. And one of the ones that popped up that wasn't going to cost me an arm and a leg was Loving Care Homes. How many people think Loving Care Homes is a really great name for an assisted living facility? Okay. So I'm like, oh, that's a great one. I'll take that one. So I pay $9 a domain name. So I registered the domain name Loving Care Homes. There's not going to be any misspellings of Loving Care Home. Maybe Loving Care Home, but you know, that's a stretch, right? So it's not like 6-day advantage, because if I did something like 6-day advantage, then I got to do the number 6-day advantage. I got to do SIX day advantage, right? And is it 6-day advantage or is it 6 days advantage, right? So anytime you have the possibility of somebody misspelling it when they type it in, you've got to make sure you also register the variations, right? But on Loving Care Homes, there's only one. And notice it's .com, not .net. Because I have been registering domain names at my registrar for going on 20 years, that exercise took me exactly 30 seconds. Got it? 30 seconds to come up with a domain name. If you've never done it before, it may take you a little bit longer. Next, I went to Facebook and I created a Facebook page for my business. And Facebook says when you create a page, like if you've never done this before, in Facebook, there's a link you can click and it says create a page. And you can create a page, you can create a group, right? You're not going to create a group, you're going to create a page, and it's going to ask you, what's the purpose of the page? I'm saying for my business. You can create a fan page or a business page, either one will work. And it asks me, is this a local business? Yes. Okay, so if you tell it's a local business, Facebook's automatically going to build in the algorithms to help local people find your business. Well, this is an assisted living facility, or was supposed to be. So I'm like, oh, yes, it's an assisted living facility. It's local. Boom. Setting up the Facebook page took me exactly 1 minute. 1 minute. And then I went onto the into phone.com, and I used, again, the spinning tool to see if I could come up with a vanity local 301 number that somehow, some way spelled out Loving Care Homes. I don't care if the word home was in there, care was in there, or love. Guess what? There was a phone number that I was able to get my hands on that was 301-845 and spelled out the word love. 301-845 love for Loving Care Homes. See how simple that is? I think getting the phone number took the longest amount of time. I think it took me 2 minutes. 30 seconds for the domain name, 1 minute for the website, 2 minutes for finding the right vanity phone number. You know what? If I wasn't going to do a vanity phone number, it probably would have taken me 20 seconds to just pick the easiest number to remember. And again, local number because local business. And then I went on to Canva. Again, because I've used Canva before, it took me 30 seconds to find a Canva cover page that had a house on it. And then I went on the internet and I stole this sort of loving heart. Just found it. I Googled heart hands, found it, downloaded it, dropped it into Canva, typed in the phone number, typed in Loving Care Homes, typed in the domain name. Canva took me 1 minute. Uploaded it onto Facebook, redirected the URL, boom. If you were to type in Loving Care Homes, that's where it takes you. If you were to call that phone number, it goes to the virtual voicemail box, and then the virtual voicemail box sends me a text and says, hey, you just got another message. And I don't even remember what the message says. Because as soon as I got back home and put this up, we set it up to have a class with Lucy Dobson. And the first thing Lucy said is, you can't put a website up in Maryland for an assisted living facility that's not been approved. Take that website down. So I just keep it up. It's sort of private. I just keep it up for demonstration purposes, but it's not actually active because I do not own an assisted living facility. And oh, by the way, if anybody ever wants to buy Loving Care Homes, the name, the website, the phone number, I'll be more than happy to sell it to you for 10 grand, even though it only cost me $9, but I'd be happy to sell it to you. All right, questions. Where did I set up my domain name? I use Enum. You can use Enum, you can use GoDaddy, you can use anybody who's a legitimate registrar, because they're all about the same and they all cost roughly about the same. I pay $9. Most people are going to pay like between $9 and $15. Okay. Other questions? Anybody else got any other questions about this strategy? Again, the main thing is just to get something up quickly. And quite frankly, to do phase one, you don't even need this. You don't even need this for phase one. But when you're out there marketing a property and you want to start sending people to a website, this is the fastest, quickest, cleanest way. And all you want them to do is just go to that phone number and call and leave a voicemail. All right, any questions on that? Can you please repeat the process for getting the specific phone number? So again, whether you are using phone.com, whether you are using Ring Central, which is a service that Amy was talking about, all of them have something called a spinning tool where you tell them you want a phone number, and then it will give you the phone number. And if you elect for the vanity option, you can type in the name that you would like to have spelled out in the phone number, and it will do its best job to find out what phone numbers are available. But all of them, it's just basically database searches. And all of these voice over IP companies have those tools available. How you specifically do it is probably going to vary from like Ring Central to phone.com. But I'm sure that each and every one of them has help desk and training videos, short little videos, 15-second videos to show you how to use the service if it's not self-explanatory. Phone.com is very straightforward. You don't even need anybody's help to do it. Okay. Any other questions before we move on to the next topic? All right. Next, after you get that website up and running, you're going to need something called a customer relationship management tool. Will they allow you to carry over a phone number? Yes, In most cases, they would and they should, because phone numbers are fully portable. I have a couple of toll-free numbers I've had for years. I have a couple of 202 numbers I've had for years. I was able to very easily move them into my phone.com account. All right, next, after, if you have a business website and Facebook business page, would you recommend getting rid of business website to use those funds elsewhere? That, that's a hard question for me to answer in the vacuum. If you want to come back tomorrow during open office hours and we can have a little deeper conversation. And by the way, all the stuff that, only for the sake of time, you guys understand, I took 15 minutes to explain a 3-minute process. And I knew that I knew that if I actually showed it to you using the tools I have, it would probably take a half an hour to explain a 3 minute. So I'm not opposed to walking you guys through this tomorrow if you want me to, and actually doing a couple, like if somebody has a business name already set up and you want me to like do this for you, I'll be happy to do it for you. But I was trying to like save time today and go, okay, if I do it this way and show slides, I can be in and out in 5 minutes. And here we are 15 minutes later. So any event, I'm more than happy to walk you guys through this, but I don't want to do that today. We still have one more day together, open office hours. Anybody wants to come tomorrow, I'll be happy to show you step by step exactly how to do this. And trust me, when I show you step by step how to do it, I'm gonna get it done in 5 minutes or less. You give me the variables, tell me what you want to do. I will do it. I'll do it 5 minutes or less. That's even with asking you questions, and you'll see very clearly, oh, this is really simple. This is really easy. Okay. All right. So after you get that basic website up and a basic phone number and you're capturing people's information, then you're going to need to start thinking about things like customer relationship management tools, CRM tools. That's things like Constant Contact or Omniport or Infusionsoft or Keep. The fastest, cheapest, dirt simplest way to do it for you guys is MailChimp. Okay? MailChimp is a CRM tool that allows you to capture lots and lots of names, lots and lots of phone numbers, lots and lots of email addresses. And up until the first 2,000 contacts, it's free. So for anybody who's just getting started building a buyer's list, MailChimp is the way to go. This is better than using an Excel spreadsheet and transposing into the Excel spreadsheet. It's cheaper than some of the more robust tools like Infusionsoft or Keep or Ontraport, right? And it's really simple. It's really straightforward. It has some advanced stuff that kind of sort of replicates what you're doing with that Facebook page, but you can start to use the more advanced tools later. So it'll do your email, your snail mail. It can create some landing pages for you. So if you want to integrate your landing pages into your Facebook page, technically MailChimp is not a standalone website tool, but there are some features it has that you can create some website pages to integrate it back into other pages. I would not recommend using MailChimp as your first website tool. I do exactly what I just told you guys to do. Use Facebook. Facebook is ubiquitous. Facebook spends a boatload of money making sure the site is up and working, and Facebook is just simple. And when you start getting into things like I want to upload some videos of my properties, you can upload videos into Facebook. Most of you guys have uploaded pictures and videos into Facebook. You know how to do that. Same is going to be true in your Facebook business page, and it's still going to be free. MailChimp, you start uploading a lot of large files, like video files. Video files are big files. You start uploading a lot of files, they're going to start charging you money sooner rather than later. So I would still make Facebook my page to start with, but then as time goes on, if you want to learn a little bit more about MailChimp, go to their webinars, go to their training programs and learn about some of the more advanced tools, do it, okay? But you need to have some kind of a tool to input people's information so you can start doing email blasts to your list. You cannot do an email blast from a Excel spreadsheet. And you don't want to do an email blast from your Gmail account. First time you try to send out 50 emails at once from your Gmail account, Gmail's going to shut you down, okay? So you're going to need to have some kind of a CRM-based, online-based CRM product that allows you to do email blast if you're going to be able to send out emails to 100 name, 200 name, 500 name, 1,000 name, 2,000 name, 5,000 name list. Now again, MailChimp is free until you get to 2,000 records. Above 2,000, then you start paying some pretty serious money. But by the time you get to 2,000, you're making some serious money, right? Serious money, right? So the free up until 2,000 is going to work just fine for you, probably for your first year in the business. Everybody understand that? If you understand that, give me a thumbs up. If you understand that, give me a thumbs up, okay? Question, can you input a landing page, Facebook? So your Facebook page is a landing page. When people go to your URL, your domain name, they're gonna go to your Facebook page. That is a landing page. They're gonna see some information right there. The first thing they'll see is static information with a phone number. If you want to, you can record a video and upload the video into your Facebook page. And you guys have seen me do that a bazillion times, okay? So you don't need MailChimp to do that. Facebook does that fine, and Facebook does that for free. But if you want people to input their information directly into MailChimp, then what you will do is create a MailChimp landing page, and you'll either embed that inside of Facebook, or you just simply, and basically just cut and paste the URL into your Facebook page, and you'll create a Facebook post that says, hey, if you're interested in this property, click this link here. And when they do, it'll take it to the MailChimp page, and they can type in the information. But as far as the videos, the information, and all the information about the property itself, that's going to reside inside of Facebook. And then you say to people, if you're interested in getting more information, click this link, and that's going to put them over on the MailChimp. Everybody understand that concept? MailChimp is your CRM. It's the tool you use to capture people's data. Facebook doesn't capture anybody's data. If you send them to a phone number, you're capturing their information in the voicemail of the phone of the voicemail phone, right? But then somebody's got to transcribe it and put it into some kind of a database. If you put it into an Excel spreadsheet, that's fine. But how do you do an email blast to that spreadsheet? You got to have something like a MailChimp. Now, if you put it in a spreadsheet like Excel, you can upload the spreadsheet into MailChimp like a click of a button. That's simple stuff. But ultimately, you want to get to the point where when you tell people, okay, if you want to get on my list, do this, you want to have them go to a website or go to a page. Now, either they can put the information in themselves, or you can have your virtual assistant take it off the voicemail and type it into the MailChimp account, okay? But you've got to have some kind of a tool that's online that allows you to now say, okay, this is my buyers list, this is my DC buyers list, this is my Virginia buyers list, this is my Suitland Parkway buyers list, this is my Capitol Heights buyers list. So you can segregate it and segment it any way you want, right? And then, oh, by the way, now that I'm doing look over my shoulder, here's the people who said they want to come to my look over my shoulder program. So here's my potential look over my shoulder list. Oh, by the way, once I have my look over my shoulder, here's the people who said that they want to become a partner with me. Here's my potential partners list. Here's my potential private investor list. You can segment this big list into separate lists, but at some point you're going to want to push a button and say, hey, I'm having a meeting, push the button, meet me in the meeting, just like you guys get those emails from me talking about meet me in the Zoom for the class tonight. Well, that's coming out of our Infusionsoft account. Infusionsoft and MailChimp are the same thing. It's just Infusionsoft's a little more sophisticated and a little bit more of a pain in the butt. And when you're first getting started, the last thing in the world you want is Infusionsoft. Start with MailChimp, and because it's free. What part of free don't we understand, people? Free 99. That's right. It's friction free and free, right? And after you get to 2,000 names, you're like, okay, I got 2,000 names, and MailChimp's not doing some of the stuff I wanted to do. Sherman talked to me about the Infusionsoft thing again, and you compare prices and features, right? But at that point, you're making $200,000, $300,000 a year, right? Main thing about MailChimp, and the reason why I don't use it, I had a MailChimp account, but I never got around to using it. MailChimp doesn't have the security features. Well, I've had 3 or 4 employees almost since day one. And you can't have 3 or 4 employees all touching the same database with the same password. Sooner or later, somebody's going to have to go, and that's going to be the one who locks you out. Now, if it's just you and a VA, no big deal. It's not a big deal. But if it's you, a VA, and a bookkeeper, and another person, and now your list of names is up to 3,000 names, you're probably going to outgrow MailChimp, or you're probably going to have to pay for the more advanced features. But deal with that problem in the future. Remember what I said day one? We'll deal with day 21 stuff on day 21. Let's deal with day 1 stuff. Right now, we just got to get some kind of a tool that we can capture information and be able to push a button to let people know we got a property available. And you're going to need something like a MailChimp. Another option would be Constant Contact, but I don't know if Constant Contact is free. And sometimes Constant Contact doesn't play nice with other tools. So I would just recommend just get yourself a MailChimp account. It's free. Free. All right. No friction. To integrate a link on Facebook to CRM requires a second domain, correct? No, that's not correct. You don't need a second domain. Is Enom a one-time $9 fee or does it upsell? Kanedi, if you don't have an Enom account, you can't even get in there for $9. I'm a 20-year veteran of Enom. I suspect they're going to charge you $20. And no, I don't believe they have the same kind of upsell regiment that like GoDaddy has. That was one of the reasons why I didn't really fall in love with GoDaddy, because everything is sort of nickel and diming you. But the reason why I pay $9 for domains is because I've been a customer of theirs for 20 years. I don't think they offer $9 domains to people coming in off the street. GoDaddy's like McDonald's. It's like, okay, we got domain names for $9. Oh, well, do you want this with that and this with that and that was that? And pretty soon before you know, you're paying $25 a year for that, $8 account, right? Okay, so is everybody clear about why we need a MailChimp? We clear about that? Say that again, Eman. No, I use bulk register, which is part of Enom. Here's what I want you to do. If you don't already have a domain name of any type, just go to Google and type domain registrar and see what pops up and pick the one you like the best. Okay. But I do not want this to break down into a conversation about $9 domain names and spend the next 30, 40 minutes talking about $9 domain names, because I will not get through the rest of today's lesson if we're going to talk about $9 domain names. And I'm trying to show you guys how to make $200,000 a year. Anybody here want to make $200,000 a year? Anybody here want to talk about $9 domain names? We can come back tomorrow during open office hours and talk about $9 domain names. Let's not see, I was hoping that if I didn't actually open the tools and just show you guys some slides, we could get through this part in 5 minutes. We are now 30, you guys understand, we spent 30 minutes talking about how to build a 3-minute website. Thank you, Joe. Yes, we're going to talk about how to make 200,000. That's a much better conversation for us to have. Come back tomorrow for office hours and we'll walk you through step by step on how to do $9 domain names. Okay. All right. Next. So the 4 things we talked about, right? Domain name, Facebook, business page or fan page, phone number, and MailChimp. Okay. And again, your homework for tonight, I want you to build or set up a Facebook fan page or business page. It should not take you more than 10 minutes. I want you to set up a MailChimp account. It should not take you more than 10 minutes. I'd be shocked if it took you 10 minutes. Again, it's free. Just click the option that says free, all right? If you already have another CRM tool, you don't need it. And I want you to go out there and register a domain name for your business. But if you're not sure, guys, stop talking about $9 domain names. Oh my God, what is wrong with you people? Stop talking about $9 domain names. We're here to talk about how to make $200,000 in the next 18 months. All right, homework. MailChimp account, Facebook fan page. Don't even bother with the domain name. Come back tomorrow and we'll register domain names. We'll spend the whole time tomorrow talking about $9 domain names, okay? All right, so has everybody got that? MailChimp, Facebook fan page, or Facebook business page. That's your homework for tonight. Got it? Give me a thumbs up if you got it. All right, next. So let's talk a little bit about online auction sites. Online auction sites, thank you, Dorothy. Online auction sites. Online auction sites are a great way to find properties. There's several of them out there, but the 2 sort of 400-pound gorillas, I'll split the 800-pound gorilla in half, is auctions.com and hubzoo.com. And if you want to go on to hubzoo.com and auctions.com and just look around, don't register, because if you do register, they're going to ask you to put up a credit card. I don't want you spending money unnecessarily so. But on both of these websites, they do recognize buyer brokers. And so if you do decide that you want to go onto these websites and use them, I would be more than happy to walk you through as a client if you decide to engage me as your broker or engage any one of the Real Investors agents as a broker. There are a couple things to note about online auction websites that we need to be cautious of. So you don't want to just run out there and do this. They do have properties. They have a lot of bank-owned REO properties. Seems like the banks are in cahoots with these guys, and the banks like them. And I think banks are ultimately trying to figure out a way to cut out the real estate agent and just put stuff on these websites, but they haven't got there yet. But all of these websites have hidden fees. They all have, there's additional fees. And typically it's the buyer who pays these fees, not the seller. One of the appeals of these websites is they tell the sellers, banks, individuals, people who are in a distressed situation, that we're going to get the buyer to cover all these fees. So there's typically something called a buyer's premium. The buyer's premium is in lieu of the real estate commission. That buyer's premium can be 10%. So they're telling the seller, hey, we'll get the buyer to put up a 10% commission, and we'll split that with you. So rather than you paying a 6% commission, we're actually going to rebate you back 5% of the purchase price. Okay. So buyer's premium, technology fee, and these technology fees can be excessive. Dave and Neil wholesaled a house to me, 1707 Village Drive West, over in Upper Marlboro. Their technology fee on that deal was almost $10,000. $10,000 in addition to the real estate commission on a I think it was $165,000 purchase price. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? They're also going to try to force you to use their title company. You still get to pick your title company in Maryland, so don't fall into that trap. And there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of extra documentation above and beyond the basic contract. Now, having said all that, you can find some deals here. I have bought over the past 6-7 years about 5 properties using online auctions. 2 of which we put back because there were some issues. There's almost always issues with these properties. So if they tell you got to close in 2 weeks, you may not close for 2 months. I had one property we didn't close for 6 months on the deal because there were so many issues related to the seller side. But having said that, you do need to be ready to close in a fairly timely fashion. But the main thing is you just have all these extra fees. And so what I have done is I've actually created a spreadsheet that's actually a bidding model. So if any of my clients ever said that they want to bid on a property using an online website like Hubzu, I actually give them this spreadsheet and I walk them through how to do it. And the spreadsheet does different things, like it calculates based on a certain purchase price. You also have higher down payments, so your EMD is like ridiculous. They will not let you get away with $1,000 EMDs. So what am I saying through all this? I'm saying that you're probably not going to be using a lot of online auction websites to wholesale properties. But having said that, Dave and Neil did wholesale a property to me. Now I had to get Jesse back in there because Jesse was their agent. We had to get Jesse back in there to renegotiate the purchase price and some of the terms to get some of the costs down. But you can find good deals on these online auction websites. But you need to have something like this tool, and some of y'all will be like, Sherman, why didn't you give this to us? Because this is way beyond the scope of getting your first deal done in 21 days or less. But I'm going to say this: if you're going to go after these deals on these online auction websites, make sure somebody does something like this for you, so that you have a bidding model, so you don't overpay. Because it's real easy to overpay when you tack on all those fees. Those extra fees can easily add another 15 to 20% to the purchase price. And again, they're shifting the fees from the seller side to the buyer side. So you got to be a little careful about that. Okay. Again, beyond the scope of this class, but if you want to talk about it at a future upcoming open office hours or future upcoming counseling or mentoring or coaching session, happy to do that. And anybody who decides to go through the apprentice program, we will have a session talking about how to use this model and how to go after properties that are on online auction websites like Hubzu and auctions.com. It's a little bit of a science and a little bit of an art, and you got to kind of know how to go after them. Okay. Next, rehabbing. The most logical place to pivot after you've been a wholesaler for a while is to become a rehabber. Whether it's to become a rehabber to buy, fix, and hold, or a rehabber to buy, fix, and resell. And it's kind of a good thing to spend some time with some rehabbers if you're going to be a serious power wholesaler, to kind of look at properties the way they look at properties. Because rehabbers kind of have their own little way of doing things. And it's not always just about price. If a rehabber really likes a certain neighborhood, they will overpay well over the Mayo Formula just to have a house in that neighborhood and keep their crews working. Those rehabbers that work certain neighborhoods, they have a pretty good finger on the pulse of what that neighborhood's all about. And they typically see market surges, price surges, well before the rest of us do. and that they're feeling pretty confident that, hey, maybe the comps are here, but in another 3-4 months, by the time I finish, those prices are going to be up here. They'll buy based on where they think the price will be, not based on where the comps are. And so getting into relationships with power rehabbers as a power wholesaler is a really great way to build your business. If you want to learn more about becoming a rehabber, we do have a class. You guys got the course catalog the first week. Stephanie teaches a 90-day class on rehabbing. It is incredibly thorough. It is very deep, very thorough, and it's from the eyes of a woman who traditionally rehabs anywhere from 5 to 10 houses a year with an average profit margin of about 50 to 100K. You guys can do the math, right? So she's a serious rehabber. Everybody knows Stephanie. Everybody loves Stephanie. Everybody understands that when you learn from Stephanie, you're learning from the absolute best. Thank you, guys. So Marcia's saying Stephanie's class is amazing. Stephanie is awesome. And somebody's asking me about the tech fee. The tech fee is included in the online auction contract. So when you go online to start bidding at Hubzu and auctions.com, first thing they're going to do is they're going to put a hold on your credit card for like $2,000. So that, for a lot of people, that's a deal killer right there. And then they're going to expect you to read their terms and conditions, which includes all those fees. And the fees are typically a percentage of the deal, and they can change. And there are some auctions that they conduct where they will say, hey, we've waived the fee or we've cut the fee, because they realize those fees are excessive. So you have to read the fine print on the Hubzu and the auction.com website. Again, if you guys want to do that, I'm more than happy to walk you guys through that tomorrow when we have a little more time and can go into a little more detail, okay? All right, so back to rehabbing. Rehabbing is a natural place to pivot once you've done some wholesaling. And again, those of you who were here yesterday and saw the ride shotgun with Dave and heard Dave talking about why he and Neil were now pivoting to rehabbing and how their approach changed. Now, instead of sending out offers sight unseen, Stephanie's saying to them, you know, focus on some specific neighborhoods. And she gave them a list of neighborhoods to look at. And she wants them to go do a thorough vetting and a thorough looking at the property before they submit an offer with their contractor. So the strategy changes dramatically when you go from being a wholesaler to a rehabber, okay? So any questions on that? And again, the highest and best advice I can give you is, if it's something you want to do, take the rehabbing class. Take the rehabbing class with Stephanie. And it is not uncommon for Stephanie to partner and put partnerships together when she teaches that class. It is not uncommon for her to say to the folks in the class, is there anybody who wants to buy this deal? To either buy, fix, and keep, or buy, fix, and flip. Are there a couple of you guys who want to sort of, you know, come together and be a team, just like we do in the apprentice class, and the team can buy the deal? So lots of opportunities to really learn the business by doing it when you take Stephanie's rehabbing class. Is Stephanie's class in the fall? It has traditionally been in the fall. There's a strong probability we may move it up this year. It's really going to be a function of how many people take the apprentice class and how many people, because what we'll typically do is do the FSBO marketing class after the apprentice class. That may very well change because of the way that we're doing the apprentice class this year. So there is a possibility that Stephanie's class might actually be in the summer as opposed to in the late fall, okay? So that may change. So stay tuned, stay posted, all right? So we've covered rehabbing, we've covered online auctions at a superficial way. Again, I'm more than happy to go into more detail tomorrow. We've talked about becoming a power wholesaler. We've talked about reverse wholesaling. We've talked about 10X wholesaling. What is there possibly left to talk about in the short time we have left? How about how to make $200,000 in the next 18 months? Anybody here want to learn how to make $200,000 in the next 18 months off your real estate business? Yeah, okay. So here's the deal. You guys got me bogged down talking about 3-minute websites and $9 domain names, and what should have taken 5 minutes took 35 minutes. So I'm going to go long tonight, even though I wasn't planning on it. So, but if you hang in there with me, I'm going to show you a little technique that I learned from Oprah Winfrey that will double your income without doubling your effort, okay? So this is a case study. It's what I call the light of Oprah. Why? Because Oprah was the person who taught this to me, okay? And I learned this by studying how Oprah Winfrey became a billionaire. And Oprah's wealth formula that a lot of talk show hosts didn't quite understand and didn't quite get is that by owning your own talk show, as opposed to just being the face, the voice, but by actually owning it, you can do some pretty fancy stuff with your show that people who are just the talent don't get to do. So Oprah left WJZ television in Baltimore City about 1984, 85, moved to Chicago and started a daytime TV show by herself in Chicago, where she kind of sort of, for the first year or so, tried to be the Lady Phil Donahue. And it quite frankly almost failed. And then she realized that Oprah has her own authentic voice and she doesn't have to be a clone of anybody. Let me say that again. When Oprah Winfrey left WJZ TV in Baltimore, Channel 13, where she had a daytime TV show called People Are Talking with Richard Scher, and she started her own TV show by herself in Chicago, she tried to be the female Phil Donahue. And some of you guys are old enough to remember Phil Donahue. He had a very distinctive style of interviewing people, and Oprah copied that style. And it almost busted her because it didn't work. Phil Donahue is Phil Donahue, and Oprah Winfrey is Oprah Winfrey. And neither one of them needs to try and copy or emulate the other. And it wasn't until Oprah realized that there are people out there who just want to hear from her that Oprah started becoming her quote unquote authentic self. And that's when her business exploded. The first thing that Oprah had to do in what I'm about to share you was to create a successful show that showcased Oprah Winfrey. Some of you just had an aha moment. Some of you need for me to break it down. If I break it down, I'm gonna go a little longer. Do I have your permission to break it down? Let me see a hands up. Let me see a thumbs up. Let me see a yes, break it down in the chat box. If I go a little longer, explain it a little more thoroughly, some of you, the rest of you are gonna have an aha moment and you're gonna be like, you guys are taking a 21-day class every single night, almost 3 hours with me to learn how to get your first deal done in 21 days or less, then put it on autopilot, build a $100,000 a year business that you can turn into a $200,000 a year business in your first 18 months. That's why you are here. You may not know that's why you're here, but that's why you're here, because that's what I've been teaching you for the past 20 days. Got it? That's what I've been teaching you. Now, here's the deal. Why are you here? Aren't there like literally hundreds of thousands of people to teach you how to get involved in the real estate game? Aren't there at least a dozen gurus? Aren't there at least a dozen many? Why are you here? Especially those of you who've been here for the past 20 days. Why are you here? Why are you here knowing I'm already 2.5 hours into this and I'm probably gonna go for another half an hour? Why are you here? Because you like my style. You guys understand that the content I have given you for the past 20 days is not radically different than the content you get from anybody else? But you're here because you like the way I teach. And some of you do, well, most of you do because you're here, and some folks don't. You're here because of me, not necessarily the content of what I'm teaching. Everybody got that? Now, you may disagree with me, but I know why you're here. Do you guys understand that after you've been at this business for a fraction of the amount of time that I've been, people are going to start coming to you and going, hey, can you show me what you know? Hey, can you teach me what you know? Hey, can I look over your shoulder? And your first initial instinct is going to be, I don't know enough. Stop that. You do know enough. You do know enough. And instead of saying, nah, maybe I'd introduce you to this guy named Sherman because he's the one that taught me, and I'd be very flattered, I'd be very humbled if you did, and there's nothing wrong with that. And oh, by the way, I also have an affiliate program. Like if you want to go and share this 21-day program with other people, and you bring them in, and I teach them, and then after I teach them for 20 days or 21 days, you take it from there, either as a coach, a mentor, or somebody who's got some kind of a church wealth building program, or maybe you're a real estate agent and you want to basically have me train your clients so your clients behave the way that real investor clients do and not do crazy stuff like traditional. I'm happy to do that. It's called an affiliate relationship. but that relationship will only be for 20 days. And it will only be done if we do it together. Here's my point. At a certain point, you're going to be like, I do know enough. And you're going to say to somebody, well, you know, the guy who taught me, his name is Sherman. Yeah, I know Sherman. I've heard it before. But I don't want to learn from Sherman. I want to learn from you, Alicia. I want to learn from you, Ulysses. I want to learn from you, Kaniti. Because I just like you. Is Oprah the only person on the planet to have a talk show? Is she the only one on the planet to have a talk? I mean, Tony Danza had a talk show, for crying out loud. What's his name? Crazy guy. Former mayor of, what was it? Was it Cleveland? Had that crazy Jerry Springer, where they're like throwing chairs at each other. Like Maury Povich, I guess you could call it a talk show. So why is it that some people, when she had her talk show, would literally get off work at 4:30 or 4 o'clock to get home and watch Oprah? Like, don't you have a VCR? It's not the same. It's not the same. Can I say something and half you guys don't hate me? I have never seen a full episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show. I mean, I know some of y'all be like, Sherman, I'm tuning you out. I'm tuning you out now. I've never seen, I have caught bits and pieces of it, but I've never seen a full, and yet there's some people who set their watch, their clock, their schedule. But when can they get home to watch Oprah live? And oh, by the way, she wasn't live. Here's my point. You guys understand that when Oprah Winfrey stopped trying to be the male Phil Donahue and gave herself permission to be herself, she automatically started to attract a certain kind of audience, and she automatically started to repel a different audience. A lot of people out there like, I don't like Tucker Carlson. He's so negative, he's so nasty. Yeah, but the people who love him. And he understands that. Rachel Maddow. And what's his name? The crazy guy over on Fox News, right? Besides Tucker, the other guy, right? Sean Hannity. Do you guys understand that the really smart personalities understand that there's something about their personality that attracts, and they amplify that? And in the process of amplifying it, they also repel other folks. At some point in time, you are going to know this real estate business well enough that people are going to start to ask you, will you teach me? Will you coach me? Will you mentor me? Can I look over your shoulder? And rather than saying no, understand this. What they're really saying is they want to learn it from you. They trust you. They believe in you. They've watched you. They watched you struggle. They watch you say you're going to do real estate, and then you didn't do real estate, and then you say you're going to do it again, and you didn't do it. And you say, I'm going to give it one more shot, and this time it actually worked, and then things really started to click. And they want to learn it from you. Do not deny them that privilege. The thing that made Oprah Winfrey a billionaire was the fact that the first step in the process was she created a show that people wanted to watch. You're like, Sherman, where's the rest of it? No, that's it. Step one, create something that people want to watch. Create something that people want to be a part of. Create something that people like, can I just get in your car and look over your shoulder for half a day? Those were exactly the words I said to Steve Cook, and I coupled it with, and I'll give you $500 to just let me. Now, how did that happen? Steve didn't have a TV show. Steve didn't even have a book at the time. Life on Air didn't come out for another 5 or 6 years. And for the most part, nobody knew who the heck Steve Cook was. We just happened to bump into each other at a meeting. But during the course of time that I was at that 4-day conference in Atlanta, every time I get near this guy, I could just get the sense that he knew what he was talking about, because people were coming around and gathering around him and asking him questions. And every time he answered a question, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And he's from Baltimore. When I get back to Bowie, I need to look this guy up. And as a rookie, I made every single rookie mistake. Hey man, can I buy a cup of coffee? Hey man, can I buy a dinner? Hey man, can I take you out for a burger? Steve's like, no, no, no. Why? He can get his own coffee. He knows how to get his own burger. He knows where the heck McDonald's is. In fact, he didn't even like McDonald's, like Fuddruckers. But what Steve wanted to see from me was that I was serious, and he wanted to know that his time wasn't going to be wasted. So by offering him $500 to just sit in his car and watch him do what he did, he's like, you know what? That's a win-win for both of us. You'll learn how to do the business correctly by watching me do what I do, and I'll pick up $500. And if along the way a relationship develops, I at least know that you value my time. Got it? So here's the deal. Oprah first created a show that people wanted to watch. It took her a year or so to figure that out, because when she first got started in Chicago, her ratings were not great. You can actually Google and see her original show in Chicago. It was not great. And it wasn't until she found her authentic voice, realizing people want to hear from her. They don't want a female version of Phil Donahue. Something clicked, and all of a sudden she became the hottest ticket in town. Not with everybody. She became the hottest ticket in town with women. To this day, I still don't know many men who raced home at 4 o'clock to watch Oprah Winfrey. But that's okay, because that's not who Oprah was talking to. You will find your voice. You will find your audience. And more importantly, your audience will find you. Maybe your audience is women. Maybe your audience is men. Maybe your audience is government workers. Maybe your audience is government contractors. Maybe your audience is IT workers. There's something unique, God-given about you that once you figure this real estate thing out, which should only take you about 21 days, people are going to want to hear your perspective. Yeah, I've heard about that, Sherman, but I want to know about your perspective as a mom. I want to know about your perspective as a woman of color. I want to know about your perspective as somebody who's a doctor who doesn't have much time. I want to know about your perspective as an IT worker, because there's something about you I can identify with, because you're just like me and Sherman's not. And they're going to want to look over your shoulder, not necessarily my shoulder. And you're going to build your business your way. Terry Humphreys, the tax lien queen. She has a loyal following of people that love her. Stephanie Terry, the rehabbing diva. She has a loyal following of people who love her. Jesse Marks, there are people who cannot stand the man, but they understand and respect. He knows his stuff. And they still want to follow him and learn from him. It's not about, are you the funniest person, the best looking person, the this person, like, and I know we're all of those. Like, that's why y'all love Real Investors. But that's not it. It's the fact that there's something in your background, something in your past, something in your life that people can identify with. That's who I want for my coach. That's who I want for my teacher. That's who I want for my mentor. And real estate is the thing they want to learn, but they want to learn it from you. If everybody understands that, give me a thumbs up, please. And I know for some folks who haven't got past the first deal, that's a little hard to understand, but I've given you the keys to the kingdom to help you get your first deal done. You get your first deal done and unlock the door, everything else is going to fall into place. And oh, by the way, like I said before, if you want to partner with me on coaching, teaching, I've already had several people say, Sherman, would you be willing to present to my church group? Would you be willing to talk to my after school group? Would you be willing to talk to my friends and family? Yes, I'll be more than happy to talk to them on one condition. We do it together. I'm not in the business of me, quote unquote, picking up more clients, more customers, more coaches. I'm in the business of developing coaches. I'm in the business of developing leaders. I'm in the business of developing people who want to get out there and show other people how to do this. Do it themselves and show other people. Not the fake, phony, baloney TV A&E stars that like never did anything, and now they're out here hawking get rich quick and real estate boot camps. I'm not talking about that, but people who are authentically doing the thing, doing the business, and now recognize that they're starting to get a little bit of a following. People want to follow them and listen to them and learn from them. I'm more than happy to work with you and show you how to cultivate that and turn that into a business. But the first step in the process is we must do the thing. Nothing else works if we're not actually doing the thing. Oprah could never have become a billionaire if she didn't have a TV show that worked. And she had to spend the better part of a year or two to get the show to work. And this is a woman who had been in television for years. She didn't just go to Chicago from WJZ not having been on a top TV show. People Are Talking was the top rated TV show in the 10 o'clock time slot in Baltimore. Granted, Chicago is a much bigger market, but she knew how to host a TV show. But when she got to Chicago and she tried to emulate Phil Donahue, and it was the black female Phil Donahue, it was terrible. It was terrible. There's no other words to describe it. I know that's sacrilegious, Sherman. You can't use terrible and Oprah in the same sentence. God will strike you dead. Okay, here it comes. But it was terrible. And she had to fix it. And she did. And then once she fixed it, she got control over it. How'd she get control over it? She created her own production company, Harpo. Oprah spelled backwards. And then she had a romantic relationship that didn't work out. So it just became a friendship. A guy named Gene Siskel, the other half of the Siskel and Ebert team, who said to her, you know what, Oprah? You ought to think about syndicating the show. It's really good. And you know what Oprah's response was? What's that? And syndication is the most simplistic concept on the surface, but it's what made Oprah Winfrey a freaking billionaire. And if we are so bold as to steal something that we saw Oprah do that turned her into a billionaire, it can basically take a $100,000 a year income and turn it into a $200,000 a year income with little to no extra effort. But the first thing we must do is do the thing. What do you mean by that, Sherman? So this is a little speech I gave. I think you guys saw this video, right? That's me with one of the books I wrote called Wealth We Can. Yes, that's actually real. That's not Photoshop. This was me speaking at the NASDAQ. That's on Times Square about 3 or 4 years ago, where I went in and I gave a speech about the concept of the 7 steps to what I call the invisible wealth creation machine. And it's based on what I learned by studying Oprah. So here's how it works. This is about how you can make $200,000 a year, play golf with your dad every week, have time for your kids, and be home for dinner by 6 o'clock every night. A stress-free life. Is there anybody out there who could use $200,000 a year stress-free? Please give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'm talking to you. Step 1, and it's 7 simple steps. If you did not come prepared to take notes, now would be a good time to take some notes. All right, it's 7 simple steps, or 7 steps to freedom, wealth and freedom as a real estate investor or successful entrepreneur. And anybody can do this, but it works so much better in the real estate space. And the reason why it works so much better in the real estate space is because real estate is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Anybody can do it. You guys have seen 20 case studies over the past 20 days. Young, old, black, white, high school educated, college educated, doctors. You've seen every walk of life do this real estate thing. That's why I show the nightly case studies, the success stories, so that everybody can understand. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have a Wharton MBA. You don't have to have 20 plus years in the television business before you get your own show. No, you just have to be focused and take the 21-day course that I've given you and put it in motion, put it to work. Get the first deal done, crack the code, and then just keep on keeping on. And in a short period of time, within a matter of months, not years, you will be doing the thing. Step 1, please write it down. And I don't mean in the chat box, on a piece of paper that you can go back and refer to this and refer back to this video over and over again. We've got to do the thing. Sherman, what's the thing? Bird dogging, wholesaling, rehabbing, foreclosure consultant, short sales, lease options, subject to, contract for deed, tax liens, buy. It doesn't matter what the thing is. You just got to pick one. and actually do it. The worst mistake in the world Oprah Winfrey could have made was to go to Chicago and try her hand at 10 different things. She could have been talk show host, weekend news anchor, person in the field. She had the skills, she had the training, but she said, no, I'm going to do a talk show. And the first year out, it sucked. And she had to go, you know what? I'm going to put my big girl pants on and fix this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this show successful. Because if she hadn't done that, nothing else she did afterwards was even possible. You cannot syndicate a show that sucks. You can only syndicate a show that's good. She had to spend some time tweaking the show to make it good, to make it so that people wanted to rush home and watch it. But notice this, not everybody wants to rush home and watch Oprah Winfrey. Her fans are raving fans. And the people who don't care for her, she could care less. I almost hate to say it, but it's true. Sean Hannity's the same way. Tucker Carlson's the same way. Donald Trump is the same way. They don't give a rat's butt about the people who hate them. And they do everything they can to gin up the people who love them. Now, it's not right to talk about those three in the same breath as Oprah Winfrey, but it's kind of the same. Anybody here ever seen a Tyler Perry play or a Tyler Perry movie? Does Tyler Perry have any other different script? I'm sorry. I like Tyler Perry. I like him as a person. I like watching some of his movies, but they're all the same. Like, Sherman, that's not fair. That's not right. If you step back for a second, don't be emotional about it and think about it from a business perspective, you know I'm right. And the reason why they're all kind of the same is because Tyler Perry has a very specific audience in mind. And you either love Tyler Perry or you can do without. Nothing in between. To some degree, the same is true of Oprah. To some degree, the same is true of Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. These folks who are personalities understand if they say certain things a certain way, the people who love them more. And the risk of doing that is the people who don't love them or hate them, love them less or hate them more. And they simply don't care. Now, I'm not saying be a personality, but I'm saying cultivate your craft to the point that somebody wants to actually come tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, can you show me how to do that? Can you show me how to do tax liens? Can you show me how to, like, do you understand how many times people have said things about Stephanie Terry that are glowing, that like somebody like, I've never even heard of this person, Stephanie, but I've got to meet her. I've got to find her because everybody's singing her praises. That's what I mean by being so good that you don't have to tell your own story. Other people tell your story for you. That's how good I'm talking about. And that doesn't take years, but it may take you a year. You may start off with doing the 21-day course to get your first deal done and do some wholesaling. You may very quickly realize, you know what, I don't like wholesaling. Maybe I want to do something else. You may come in here and go, okay, I understand wholesaling, I understand rehabbing, but I'm really good at this bird dogging with my real estate license. I'm really good at servicing the needs of real estate investors. I am so good that other real estate agents out there in the field go, you know what, if you really want to do that, you really need to go see so-and-so. He, she doesn't do traditional stuff, but what they do, they're the best. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, you know this guy over here? You know, he's really kind of a jerk, but man, is he good at what he does. That's the guy you want on your team, the Barracuda. That's what I'm talking about. When you are so good that other people start singing your praises, then you have the basis for a 7-figure business. But if you are so bad, not because you don't know what you're doing, not because you're kind of fumbling and stumbling, but you're bad because you can't make a decision. You're indecisive. You can't decide whether or not you want to do a deal, not do a deal. You're not even sure that this 21-day course that you just spent 20 days on is something you want to do after tomorrow. Because maybe you're on to the next boot camp. Maybe you're on to the next thing. Like every time you turn around, so-and-so's doing another thing. Oh my God, when are they going to settle down and grow up and just do one thing well? That's what I'm talking about. Pick one thing. I think it was day 5, day 6, we talked about the 13 different ways to make money in this business. Just pick one, for crying out loud, and do it better than anybody else. In fact, don't even do it better than anybody else. Just do it better than most. Be on the top 10 list. Well, you know, if you want to learn this, there's 9 people that you need to talk to. One of them happens to be right here.
Is related.
You know what I'm saying? Step 1, do the thing. Please write that down. Pick one of those 13 ways and actually do it. Oh, by the way, somebody who had their phone unmuted, you're not even paying attention. You got all that background. There's no reason for you to even be here today. Bye. Do the thing. The thing. If that makes sense to you guys, please give me a thumbs up. If that's making sense to you, please give me a thumbs up. And it doesn't matter whether you're a bird dog or a wholesaler or you're rehabbing, do it so well. Well, Sherman, Stephanie already has that rehabbing thing down. I could never be as good a rehabber as Don't even try. Why not be the best part-time rehabber that ever walked the planet? Why not be the best rehabber who does buy, rehab, and turn into rentals? To the best of my knowledge, Stephanie doesn't do that. She sells pretty much everything she rehabs. Why not be that guy or that gal that's on this side of town or that side of town? You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of room in the marketplace for 2 or 3 top people, no matter what it is. Ford doesn't have the whole truck business all sewed up. Southwest Airlines is not the only airline putting planes in the sky. Marriott's not the only company out there that has hotels. There's room in the marketplace for 2 or 3. Just be one of those 2 or 3. And in some marketplaces, most of us can only name one. Quick, name the top rehabber in the DC area. Stephanie. Okay, who else? I can't think of anybody else. Well, there's room for 2 more. Every industry I know of has room for at least 2 or 3 top competitors. Almost every industry. I've never found any coffee as good as Starbucks. Well, maybe Three Brothers, but they're not in business anymore. So there are some industries like there's only room for 1 and you're done, right? But even in the world of fast food, I haven't been to McDonald's in years, and my stomach thanks me for it. Now Chick-fil-A, once a week, baby, especially that kale salad. All right. So here's my point: pick one thing, do the thing. Any one of those one things will put $100,000 a year in your pocket. Do you guys understand that? You can make $100,000 a year as a bird dog. Sherman, how can you make $100,000 a year as a bird dog if I'm only making $1,000 a deal? Don't just make $1,000 a deal. Go get your real estate license and make $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000 a deal. Do the math. How many deals you got to do? If you're making on average, let's say that you're focusing on houses that are $300,000, and let's say you're picking up a 3% commission. That's $9,000. How many houses do you have to do during the span of a year to make $100,000? 11? 1 a month? You with me? Just do the thing and find something different about what you do by just paying attention to who you are that differentiates you from everybody else. Oprah was not the only person to have a talk show during the 25 years she had a talk show. Sally Jesse Raphael had a talk show. Tony Danza had a talk show. Maury Povich had a talk show. Phil Donahue had a talk show, and on and on and on and on and on. She just did it better. But the rest of them made money. But the thing that the rest of them did not do, that she did, that made her a billionaire, where everybody else just became a millionaire, was point number 2. Once you do the thing, create a look over my shoulder. By now, nobody should be questioning or scratching your head, What's a look over my shoulder? What does LOS mean? LOS means look over my shoulder. It's exactly what it sounds like. Most people in life do the thing, but never create an opportunity for anybody to look over their shoulder to see how they do it. I discovered this the same time I discovered how to become a full-time real estate investor, because I said to the guy who was doing it, Steve Cook, Steve, if you let me look over your shoulder, I'll pay you $500. And on that day, I was the only one in the car. But if he had been out there doing the thing without me, he would have made $500 less that day. Now here's the key. And this is what separated me from Steve. When people started coming to me as I was doing the thing, I actively cultivated people going, okay, sit in my car. But it's not just one, I'll put 2 or 3 or 4 of you in there. I got a Lincoln Navigator. I can seat 7. I can certainly put four other people in there comfortably. And at $500 a head, that's $2,000. That's $2,000 for what? Letting people watch me do what I do? That's kind of like Oprah Winfrey saying, I got a show in Chicago. Who wants to see it in St. Louis? And who wants to see it in Baltimore? And who wants to see it in Dallas? And who wants to see it in New York? And who wants to see it in Los Angeles? And who wants to see it in Oklahoma City, in Kansas City? Through the power of syndication, Oprah is able to do one show a day and beam it into every major city in America and get paid. Syndication is brilliant. You know what's even more brilliant than syndication, Dorothy? Doing a thing and immediately creating a look over my shoulder program. Because if you actually do the math, you're doing the thing. Everybody understand that? You're doing the thing. At least one day out of the week, you're visiting properties with the contractor. At least one day out of the week, you're driving around looking at neighborhoods. At least one day of the week, you're doing the thing. In a period of time where you can actually have people in the car and you're charging $500 a head, if you're driving a car that has 4 empty seats, that's $2,000 extra dollars. Well, what if I can't put people in the car? Guys, please think bigger than what's beyond your nose. How many people were here yesterday? Give me a thumbs up. How many folks were here yesterday? Give me a thumbs up. How many folks were here yesterday? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. We have 99 people in this program, or at least on the Facebook page. We have 89 people who actually paid or got it for free because they already had the previous edition. And everybody who did show up live or showed up later saw an hour and 30-minute video yesterday of me videotaping a look over my shoulder with my son and his business partner, Neil/Jeremiah, he goes by both. Yesterday, we had 60 people looking over Sherman's shoulder, 30 of whom paid $300. Do the freaking math. You're not limited by a car. You're only limited by your ability to watch what Sherman does and then duplicate it. In fact, you don't even have to think, just follow my lead. Now, don't be driving down 95 with your iPhone in your hand. You notice at one point I handed it over to my son. You know, I actually have a device that mounts my car's Lincoln Navigator. I have these sort of grip handles right near the front. And I have a device that sort of mounts there, and then it's got like a gooseneck, and then I couldn't find it. So I had to hold it for some parts of it, and then Dave had to hold it, and he gave it back to me. You know, don't do that. I don't want anybody getting in trouble with the law, right? But here's my point. With technology being what it is, you can live stream to a Facebook page. You can live stream to a Facebook group. You don't have to say to people, meet me at the Fuddruckers, right? And we'll get in the car together. You can say, you know what? Go to the Facebook group that I've set up. It doesn't have to be $500. It could be $250. It could be $50. Just do the math. But the simplest, again, keep it simple, Sherman. The simplest is, hey, I got a car, I got 4 empty seats. Who wants to sit in the seats with me, pay $500 and watch me do what I do? People will do that all day. There is no friction at $500, folks. People do that all day long. And I had 30 of you paying $300 to watch me do a look over my shoulder from a videotape yesterday. You've seen it. I'm not making this stuff up. You're like, oh, well, that will never work. Well, then where were you yesterday when you watched it? Are you with me? If you're with me, give me a thumbs up. Anybody here having an aha? It's like light bulb. With technology being what it is, and it's not, quite frankly, it's not just technology, it's the fact that we've gotten used to doing things a certain way over the past couple of years. And things we never would have thought people would have done a couple of years ago, we're doing it every day, day in, day out. I'm telling you, if you say to folks, hey, listen, one day a week, I have a look over my shoulder. All I need for you to do is log into the Facebook group. All I need for you to do is go to my PayPal account and pay me $250, and you're gonna be able to watch from the comfort of your home as I go out and do what I do. People gladly pay you $200-300 for that. Well, again, sticking to this very simple model of people in a car, if all you did was put 4 people in the car at $500 a piece, that's $2,000 for the day. And if you had the same level of commitment, I wouldn't say same, a similar level of commitment as Oprah did to her TV show, you have a similar level of commitment to your business and say, you know what, I'm gonna go out one day a week, every day this year, take off 2 weeks for Christmas holidays, but every day, that's 50 weeks. Y'all understand there's 52 weeks in a year, right? So if you pick one day, pick a Monday, pick a Friday, pick whatever works for you and your customers, your clients, your members, then 50 weeks of having 4 people in the car paying $500 a piece, that's $2,000 times 50 weeks. Can somebody please tell me how much money that is? Can somebody please tell me how much money that is? Put it in the chat box. Man, you guys are brilliant. It's 100K. Now, here's the key. You can't syndicate a show that doesn't exist. You with me? You cannot syndicate a show that doesn't exist. The first step in the process is you got to do the thing. And if it takes you 6 months, a year, year and a half to struggle to figure out what the thing is, fine. I showed you how to get the first deal done. I showed you how to set up a machine. You're gonna have to tweak that machine and get it humming, fine-tuned. And then you're gonna have to find its personality based on you. But once you do that, people are gonna start to come to you. People are gonna start to notice you. And people say to you, hey, will you show me what you do? You say, yeah. One day out of the week, I take 10 people through a Zoom call. I take 10 people at $200 a piece. Isn't that still $2,000 for the day? One day out of the week, I take 20 people at $100 a piece, 90 cents. Isn't that still $2,000 for the day? You can slice it and dice it any way you want. But the most simplistic terms is put 4 butts in the seat of your car that's empty while you're doing what you're doing and charge them $500 a pop. And you will get no friction, no resistance whatsoever at a $500 number if you're actually doing the thing. During the days pre-pandemic, I'd go rent a bus. I could rent a bus for like $2,000. And on that bus, I could put 40 people comfortably. Well, if I got 40 people on the bus paying $50 a piece, isn't that $2,000? Except I gotta charge them $100 because the bus cost me $2. It doesn't matter how you do it, but you want people to see your show. And looking over your shoulder is exactly the same thing as Oprah syndicated. You are making money by just letting people watch you do what you do. And there is no additional effort, really. I mean, yeah, getting a bus requires some, but forget the bus. Just put people in the car. Forget the car. Just have a camera mounted and have it zoomed into a Facebook group. That's an extra $2,000 every week. You do that 50 weeks out of the year. That's an extra 100 grand on top of the 100 grand you just made for doing the thing. Is there anybody here who's glad that you came tonight and that I went a little bit longer? Give me a thumbs up. All right, can I have permission to go just a little longer to sort of like take it to the next level? So here's what's going to happen. Let me show you what's going to happen when you do what I'm suggesting, strongly suggesting that you do. I'm suggesting that you have a show and you syndicate the show, just like Oprah. I'm suggesting that you do the thing and you create a look over your shoulder. Let me show you what happens, the magic. It happens automatically. You can't stop it if you wanted to. If you do those two things, do the thing and let people look over your shoulder. 25% of the people, 25% of the people who look over your shoulder are going to tell you flat out they didn't like it, they don't care, you're never going to hear from them again. I watched the Oprah Winfrey show once, it didn't do anything for me, I don't think I'll be back. Oprah doesn't care, and neither should you. You hear me? Oprah doesn't care, and neither should you. Because for every person in that category who walks out the door going, I won't be back, there'll be one person who goes, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's the greatest show I've ever witnessed in my life. When's it going to be on again? In other words, they're going to say to you, that's the greatest experience I've ever had in my life. What else you got? Now, if you so choose and you want to create a mentoring program, you want to create a coaching program, do it. Because whatever they paid, you can charge 10 times the amount. There are some of you who have gone through this 21-day program, about half of you who paid $297 to go through this, understanding that when I'm done with it, I'm going to sell it for $3 grand, but you went through for $297 with the promise of giving me a rating, an honest rating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter what it is, but that was the deal. But do you guys understand there's already been a certain segment of the group who's already said, Sherman, this has been a great experience for me. What else you got? And I'm like, the apprentice program, and the apprentice program is $2,900. And you all be like, okay, where do I sign up? Thank you, Dorothy. But here's my point. There's always going to be a certain percentage who are going to experience what happened, not like it, not come back for whatever reason. And for every one of those, there'll be another person who's like, that was the greatest day of my life. What else you got? So 25% of the people who go through your look over your shoulder are going to ask you point blank specifically, what else you got? And for that 25%, the answer is, I got something else that's at a 10x price point. If they paid $500, you can offer something for $5,000. If they paid $200, you can offer them something for $2,000. And I can show you how to do that. In fact, we can even talk about that tomorrow. We will have time tomorrow if you want to come back tomorrow and I'll explain to you how to do a 10x program, again, without creating much more additional work. But I understand that? If you understand it, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you understand it. All right, next, 50%. 50% of the people who go through your look over the shoulder program, if you're doing it the right way and you're rolling it at the right time, they're going to say to you words to the effect, you really know what you're doing. I don't have time to do what you're doing. Can we partner together? Did somebody just have an aha moment? People oftentimes ask me, Sherman, where do you find private investors? How do you cultivate private investors? How do you come up with private investors? This is how. You let people look over your shoulder. You let them watch you do what you do. You turn them into believers. And they're like, wow, you're pretty good at this. I don't know if I could ever be as good at this as you are. Can we just partner together? And the answer to that, of course, is what? Put it in the chat box. What's the answer to that when somebody says, can we partner together? What's the answer? What do you tell them? What do you tell them? Yes, 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 yes. Now, here's the deal. Here's how you do it. 50% of the 50% turn them into private investors. Invite them to a private investor presentation. Explain to them that you have opportunities for them to be investors in your deals. My minimum price point today is 25,000, but when I first got started, it was 5,000. And whatever percentage of people who go through your look over the shoulder, 25% of that group, whatever number it is, 25% are going to want to be private investors in your deal. Once you explain to them how it works, you got to have a separate presentation. You got to put them on a separate list. You got to give them the proper documentation. Okay. By the way, we have a whole class on how to do this. It's a 90-day class. You guys know this. I gave you guys the course catalog called Where to Get the Money. And the number one question I always get from people who haven't taken the class, well, where do you find these people? No, I understand conceptually. You got to have certain documents. And you're going to give me the doc. But where do I find these people? You find them in the back of your car if you're doing a look over your shoulder program. Let me ask you a question. Is there anybody in here, anybody who ever watched the Oprah Winfrey show, a whole episode? A whole episode. Anybody ever watch Oprah Winfrey and will admit it, a whole episode? At least one. If she could have, if Oprah had said to you, you know what? We're sick and tired of seeing what's happening in some of our communities, and we're going to organize an effort where we're going to actually raise a fund and buy the block. And I'm asking people who watch the show or sit in the audience that they be willing to write a check for $1,000. They can be a part of what we're doing. And we're going to go out, we're going to buy a piece of Harlem. We're going to buy a piece of Baltimore. We're going to take back the block and turn this thing around. Is there anybody who watched Oprah who would have written that $1,000 check to be a partner with her? Anybody? So why didn't she do that? Because at the time her show was on the air, we didn't have something called the Jobs Act. Obama didn't sign the Jobs Act until 2011. Well, Oprah had been off the air for about a year or two by the time, but we can actually do crowdfunding for real estate deals. You guys understand how powerful that would have been if Oprah could have done a crowdfunding deal when she had her show on the air? I'm not saying she would have, but how powerful that could have been. So if you can imagine Oprah doing it, why can't you imagine you doing it? When somebody has watched you do what you do for a couple of hours, understand that you really are good at what you're doing, and then you say to them, by the way, here's an opportunity to be a partner with me in my next deal. I'm telling you, 25% of the people who watch you do what you did are going to be like, where do I sign up? And again, there's a process for that. You know, don't just run out there and do that through your Facebook page. You don't want to do that because that's going to violate some securities laws and get you in trouble. But what I'm saying is, by having a simple look over your shoulder program, you have an ability to cultivate additional investors, private investors. You have an ability to cultivate partners if you want to co-buy. Like Stephanie, the reason why Stephanie can do 10 houses a year now, when she first joined Real Investors, she's doing 3 to 5. Now she's doing like 10. Somebody just reminded me that she's actually doing more like 10 to 15. She partners with her students. People sign up for her class and she says to them, by the way, we got another property we can buy. Does anybody have $25,000? And 3 or 4 people go, yeah, we do. Okay, let's put together an LLC and pool that $25,000. So now we got $75,000 and buy the house together. And we'll take the $75,000 that you're putting up and match it up with some hard money loans. And I'm going to get 50% of the profit for putting in nothing and doing the whole deal. Anybody here like the idea of getting 50% of the profit by just leveraging your knowledge and not having to put any cash into a deal? If I like that idea, give me a thumbs up, please. As I oftentimes say, don't just listen to what I say, watch what I do. Same is true for Stephanie. Same is true for Steve. Same is true for Jesse. Watch what our folks do. They're doing it all by the book, but they are leveraging their relationships to forge better, more profitable relationships. Where do you find these people? You find them in the back of your car in your look over the shoulder program. Well, how do I start a look over my shoulder program? Step 1, do the thing. Well, Sherman, how do I know what thing to do? Step pre-1, get your first deal done, build a team, get in the game, and start figuring that out. Oprah had to figure it out. Before she could syndicate the show, she had to have a show. Before you can have a look over my shoulder program, you've got to be doing the thing. But once you're doing the thing, you can turn on the look over my shoulder like a light switch, boom, and not only make an extra $100,000 a year by charging people roughly about $500 a pop, but half the people in that car or in that audience or in that group are going to ask you, can we partner? And 25%, a separate 25% are going to be like, what else you got? I'm willing to pay for additional higher levels of coaching and mentoring if you're willing to do that. Are you guys really beginning to understand how powerful that first deal is? That first deal puts a whole lot of stuff in motion. In any event, so I shared this information at the NASDAQ. These guys went crazy. Like, nobody's ever broke it down like this before. And I said, well, listen, it's not that I'm any kind of brilliant guy. I just watched Oprah. I just watched how Oprah became a billionaire. I said, I knew Oprah when she was when she was a WJZ doing People Are Talking back in 1983, 82, 83, when I was an intern there. She wasn't a billionaire. She was bright. She was ambitious, but she hadn't put all the pieces together. And it wasn't until she got to Chicago, and it wasn't until she dated Gene Siskel and then stopped dating Gene Siskel, that he was the one who said, why don't you syndicate your show? And it was syndication that made her a billionaire. And I just watched Oprah do what she did and said, how can I apply this same technique and make money off of this? I'm just a student of other people's successes in business. And I just look for ways to apply what somebody else has already done that's making them a ton of money. And I'm just doggedly determined to figure out how to make it work. And I'm blessed. That's it. So let's wrap this up. Next step. Once you're doing the thing, got your look over the shoulder, and this is not going to happen your first year. It's not going to happen your first 6 months. Become a celebrity. So, well, Sherman, how do you become a celebrity? Easiest way to become a celebrity is write a book. Because once you got a book, people want to talk about your book. They don't want to talk about what's in the book, by the way. I have done dozens of TV appearances and podcasts and radio shows talking about my book, and nobody's ever actually read the book. I have to tell them what's in the book. And I usually only have 3 to 10 minutes to tell them what's in the book, depending upon the format. If I'm on TV, I got 3 minutes. If I'm on a podcast, I got 15, 20 minutes. And if I'm doing a radio show, I got like 15 minutes. And they want you to explain what's in your book. So nobody even bothers to read the book. So, well, Sherman, how do you learn how to read a book? How do you learn how to do anything in life? Go find somebody who's doing it and ask them to show you how. My dad told me that when I was a freshman in college, 23 years old. Go find somebody who's, not even 23, 20 years old. Go find somebody who's doing what you want to do and get them to show you how. So I had a chance to connect with a guy named Robert Allen. Y'all remember Robert Allen, Nothing Down fame? Nothing Down for the 80s, cracking the millionaire code? Through a mutual friend, I met Robert Allen. Guy told me Robert Allen has a $10,000 coaching program to teach you how to be an author. I'm like, I'm in. Like, by the way, sometimes coaching, mentoring costs you some money. But if you invest it the right way, it comes back in spades. So I gave him $10,000 to be one of his students. And then for another $10,000, he offered a chance to co-write a book. I took him up on it, 20 grand. But don't you know that book went #1 the first week it came out? Next thing you knew, I was a New York Times bestselling author. And from what I learned from Robert, I wrote 2 or 3 more books. And when you have a book, people want to talk to you. Well, the first people want to talk to me was Bruce Johnson at Channel 9. And I was on his show at least a half dozen times. And people saw that. And after people saw me on Bruce Johnson, all of a sudden other people want to talk to me. And then all of a sudden other people are singing my praises besides me. And the next thing I know, I'm hanging out with folks like, Robin Roberts from Good Morning America, and Richard Branson. Funny thing about being famous, even with us a small little teeny little famous, is people want to seek you out. My alma mater, Towson University, the year I wrote the book, asked me to come and give the commencement speech. I'm like, I've never given a commencement speech. I don't even know how to give a commencement speech. And I gave a commencement speech along with somebody else for my alma mater. And the president of Towson came up to me afterwards and she said, that was really, really good. Will you be on my board of advisors? And get to hang out with some more successful people, like the governor and people who know the governor. One book, one little teeny book that I didn't even write the whole thing. I wrote a piece of it. Robert Allen wrote most of it. But once you start playing that card, where you're taking the knowledge you have and imparting it even in something as simple as a little 200-page book, that's when things really start to explode. So let me bring closure because we're way over time. What's next? What do we do next? What's the next thing that we should be looking at? I wanted to strongly encourage people that if you have not signed up for the apprentice program and you're just feeling like you would like to have a little more help, a little more coaching, mentoring, do the apprentice program. And if money's an issue, do what Lisa said yesterday, just sign up, pay that first payment on a payment plan, and let her work with you to figure something out. Still a couple of scholarships available for first responders, healthcare workers, et cetera, vets. Let her just work with you to make that happen. That's number one. But I've had a couple people say to me, Sherman, I don't know if I'm going to have the time. Look, guys, there are so many successful people who've not only used the 21-day course. Again, the 21-day course that you've just gone through is the tool we use in teaching the apprentice class. The main thing is we put you on the teams and get you out there in the field, and that's where the real learning begins, okay? But I've had some people say, well, Sherman, I would love to do it, but I truly, truly, truly don't have time. So let me give you another option that may work for you. We have a level of membership called Gold Membership. I'm gonna take about 5 minutes to explain it, and then we're gonna close this out. Think about becoming a Gold member. If the apprentice program is not right for you, think about becoming a Gold member. Here's what you get with Gold membership. You have unlimited access to the new 21 days program, the program you guys have just gone through. And as I've already told you, this program is going to go away in a couple of weeks. It's going to be in the Facebook group for about another 2 or 3 weeks to let people catch up. But then it's all going into REIU, and the only people who will be able to get it are people who are members of Real Investors. So you will still have unlimited access through your membership in Real Investors if you choose to become a member. And some of you are already members, so I'm not really talking so much to you as much as I'm talking to the 50% of you guys who paid to go through this experience with me. There are three weekly live coaching mentoring sessions that happen every week. Tuesday is the Deal Maker Workshop. Wednesday is my open office hours where I do kind of like what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then Thursday is either a little mini class or a master class. Those are done live every week. And it's a chance to continue to learn and grow and apply what's in the 21-day course. Plus, once a month, I do what's called a master class. A master class is usually more than one session. It'll be like 2 or 3 Thursdays in a row because that's when they typically do the master classes. And I do topics like building your 7-figure buyers list, go deeper into what I call 10x wholesaling secrets, how to get private investors. All those kinds of things are what we cover in master classes. Then you're also going to get 24/7 access to REIU. That's our online university, Real Investors online learning environment. So all of these master classes that I do live, they become recorded and then they are available inside of REIU. And then we have a new thing we're doing. Are you guys familiar with Clubhouse? This new app that people are talking about is kind of like a party line. So about 2 months ago, Howard Johnson called me up and he said, Sherman, I just made the biggest wholesale check I've ever made in my whole entire life. Been at Real Investors for 9 years, and this is the biggest check I've ever had. So how much? $109,000 wholesale profit. $109,000 wholesale profit. I said, man, you got to come on the show and tell people about this. And he's like, well, I'm getting ready to go out of town. I don't know when I can get back to telling anybody. And this was before Clubhouse came on the scene, and it suddenly dawned on me, you know what? With this Clubhouse app, anytime somebody scores a big deal like that, we can literally just reach out to everybody on the fly and go, hey, we got Howard Johnson talking about this deal that he just made $109,000 on. You guys can come on and talk to him live and just use the Clubhouse app. And I just see all kinds of different opportunities to use that app to impart knowledge with people on how to make more money as a real estate investor. So I'm calling it Clubhouse Cash Calls. And then, of course, we have on-site property tours for small groups, like 5, 6 people to go out and visit, look over the shoulder contractor, kind of like what we did yesterday in the video, but you can actually come live, kind of like what I did with Dave and Neil yesterday. And then 24/7 access to all the forums, checklists. And here's the big deal. If you are a member now in Real Investors, I need for you to hear this. And if you decide to become a member or gold member of Real Investors, we're adopting a policy that your membership dues will never increase. So whatever you're paying now, it will never increase. And the reason why we're doing that is because when we look back, we saw we have not increased dues at Real Investors for 10 years. And I said to folks at the end of last year, that's got to stop. So we're going to have our first price increase on our dues starting this month. However, if you are already a dues paying member of Real Investors, your dues will not increase. But anybody else who comes in, you're going to get, again, roughly about $20,000 worth of value when you actually put a price tag on all of this stuff. You know, if you actually look at what people are charging for live coaching 3 times a week in any other real estate investor program, we know it's about $12,000. We know that the 21 Days Real Estate Riches program will sell for $3,000 because you guys have told us that, and that's what we plan to sell it for. But all of these things you get as a part of the membership. And the membership, starting next month, is going to be $297 a month. Now, some of you are like, wait a minute, I'm not paying $297. You're not, and you won't. Some of you are paying way less than that. But here's the deal. Anybody who's saying to yourself, you know what, I don't think I can swing the apprentice program for whatever reason, but I do see the value in being a member of Real Investors and being a part of, you know, the live coaching calls and getting access to all the training that's going to be available, done on a monthly basis live, and then having access to it 24/7. It's $297 a month starting next month. But if you make the commitment to sign up today, and I'll even extend it to like this weekend, if you make the commitment to go ahead and sign up now, and you go to realinvestorsgold.com, we will lock you in at $197 a month. That includes continuous unlimited access to the digital version of the 21 Days of Real Estate Riches, 3 live coaching sessions every single week, live master classes. And again, these are typically done on Thursday evenings, and the master classes go for 2 or 3 sessions. And then once we do the recordings, we put them into REIU, so you have 24/7 access to them. On-site property tours, access to the forums, checklists, and cheat sheets, clubhouse cash calls. And again, your membership, once you sign up, will never increase. If you sign up today, it's $197 for as long as you're a member. If you wait for a couple of days, because the month's starting, right, new month, if you wait for a couple of days, it jumps up to $297. Okay? So with that, one of the first things I'm going to give you is the magic of getting things done. That will be our first master class. I'm going to go ahead and give that to you as a part of a additional sign-up bonus. And again, if you sign up today, that's $2,000 worth of value, $1,997 worth of value for $197 a month. And the way you do that is just simply go to realinvestorsgold.com. Let me just do this, make it really simple. Just go to realinvestorsgold.com. That's the website, get all the information, and get you signed up and join us for our live sessions next week, and also join us for the Magic of Getting Things Done masterclass coming up also next week. Okay, so guys, here is our case study for today. I think you're going to enjoy this one. Please hang out to watch this, and then we'll wrap things up.
Made me want to get involved in real estate was my dad. He always did contracting businesses and projects for random people and people that he knew in his network. And he would always drag me to Home Depot and Lowe's and take me to his projects. And I fell in love with construction. And after that, I just kind of fell off because I was in school. And then after I graduated Howard, I decided to get back into the business, and I found real estate investing instead of regular real estate agency. I found this deal through one of the other members at Real Investors, Bashir. He brought it to my attention because he had spoken to the owners and he wasn't sure exactly what to do next. And he asked me to help him with it, and we worked through the project together. We first visited this property right before Christmas of last year. And we just closed last Friday, February 24th. The numbers were, originally we were gonna just wholesale it as a buy and hold, and the numbers were $500,000. And we came in with an offer of $325,000. The owner rejected it, and they came back with $425,000. And we talked to a hard money lender to figure out what we wanted to do, if he still wanted to pursue it. And the hard money lender said we can do that number, so they decided to go with it. Later on, we had an idea to do a condo conversion with the property, because with $425,000, keeping it as a buy and hold still didn't leave enough profit for us. With that being said, we decided to talk to Sherman about turning this building into a condo conversion in DC, because that's very, very popular. And he was looking for a condo conversion building for his daughter. So we talked to him about it. He said he was interested, and we went about it that way. After like 2 months or so, we had some complications with construction estimates. So we decided to go ahead and wholesale it because we were running out of time. With that, we ended up making a $50,000 wholesale fee to a developer here in DC. With that, we ended up making a $50,000 wholesale fee to a developer here in DC. That 21 Days to Real Estate Riches is foundation. That's everything I needed to know about this business, from learning how to do the numbers, looking at comps, figuring out neighborhoods, seeing if it's a good deal, just understanding what the neighborhood is doing, if it's changing in a good way, in a bad way, just by seeing how many houses are sold in the area. 21 Days of Real Estate Riches is everything you need to start as a real estate investor, and I wouldn't change it for the world, and I'm glad I found it. There was a lot of times when I was motivated, and then I got sidetracked, and I was like, well, let me just rest on my laurels, or something will come about, or I felt like I didn't have enough money to do what I wanted to do. And then I was like, look, if I want to make this work, I have to make this work. So I put the work in, and I networked with people, and I was talking to the agents there, meeting people, just doing what I needed to do to make sure it was going to work out, and making sure I got the right knowledge to support me in doing what I was doing. I advise them to come to Realinvestors and take a chance with it and do what I did. Go through your apprentice program, take this, study the 21 Days to Real Estate Riches course, and do everything they need to do to get a deal done, because real estate investing is very lucrative if you put the work into it, and it's persistence that's going to keep you in this job. Like, I've met a lot of people who said they've been in this business for years, and it's like they're not doing anything with it, and they're like, oh, well, it doesn't really work. I mean, I spent money on it, and I haven't gotten anything out of it. And I figured they haven't gotten anything out of it because they didn't put the work in it, or it was just too hard. But definitely come to Realinvestors and do what you need to do to get the deal done. From my friends, none. I'm glad to say that I am, but a lot of them aren't. They have 9-to-5 jobs, so if they do make $50,000, it will be throughout the course of 12 months. But I'm glad to say that I do. It feels really, really good, because this validated that real estate investing does work, and it keeps me motivated now to keep going and going. And actually, after this, we're about to go canvassing to find more deals, because the grind doesn't stop. But I'm very super, super happy. Made some money. I'm looking to make more money, and to create, have a wealth creation plan like Sherman talks about. I'm Marissa Gentry, a recent graduate from Howard University. I made $50,000 on my wholesale deal. I'm a real investor, and I get real checks.
Okay, guys, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, why did I bother to come to the last night of class? Oh, a 10. 5 being, this is a good use of my time, even though we did spend a half an hour talking about $9 domain names. All right, so the bottom line is this, guys. Yes, you can use the 21-day course to find commercial properties. I don't emphasize that. You heard Marissa say it took her almost 2 months. But I think she'll also say it was worth the 2-month wait to get the $50,000 check. Commercial deals do not move as fast as residential, but you can use the 21-day course on commercial deals, and I'm more than happy to show you how to do that. Tomorrow, no assignment, open office hours. I will be here, regularly scheduled time, and I'll be here as long as necessary. So whatever questions you have, tomorrow's the day to bring it. And I'll post some homework in the chat box, excuse me, in the not chat box, I'll post some homework in the Facebook group. And I really, really, really do hope that those of you who can swing it, take the apprentice program. And if that's just not feasible time-wise, whatever, then go ahead and sign up for Gold membership at the discounted price, because that price is going to go up after tomorrow, okay? And I'll see you guys tomorrow to talk about $9 domain names, fan pages, business pages, phone numbers, the whole 9 yards, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. All right? Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Love you. Hope that this has been a great experience for you. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for open office hours, okay?